casual situation.
I'm feeling pretty nervous, like more than I thought I would.
Yeah. Well, what would help you right now? Or what is nervousness like in your body?
It varies, but right now I just feel like heated.
Like hot.
Yeah, but I know I'm not actually hot. It's just
Yeah, what else?
anxiety.
How else does it show up in your body somatically?
Um, just like big feelings in my inner body, like a
Mm-hmm.
movement that is not typical.
You want to do something with me?
Sure.
There's this thing called the RAIN method for managing and being with emotions. I learned it. I had Mamata Misra was on the show. She is a teacher of mindfulness-based stress reduction here in Austin, and we talked about stress. And she shared with me this RAIN method, RAIN, and we could go through it together. I'm excited. I feel that in my body. It's like here. So RAIN, R stands for recognize. So you like recognize what's present for you. It's like anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else?
No, just like different shades of anxiety of being
Different
in front of the
shades.
camera, which I'm surprised about. But
What are the shades?
like self-consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Like that, like maybe shadow type of stuff. Like I want to be pretty, or I want
No, that didn't come up for me. More just like, I guess it's more just like this might be helpful because I want to feel more relaxed than I do so that I can be more like clear in what I'm talking about.
to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Wanting to be relaxed so that like communication flows effortlessly.
Exactly. Yeah. So it doesn't feel hard.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So that's recognize. The emotion that's present for you is anxiety, probably some fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then is A is acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
So anxiety's here. She talked about like not personalizing the emotion, like not saying like I am anxious.
Right.
She would just say like anxiety's present.
That's like a very Buddhist perspective.
Yeah.
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 Like, I see you.
Non-attachment. Yeah,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Anxiety is present. I feel, or the feelings of anxiety are present.
Mm-hmm. So then it's like, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to feel anxious.
Yeah.
Probably normal.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most people sitting in front of cameras feel anxious.
It's probably not just the cameras. It's the whole like ensemble.
Yeah.
It's like these huge lights.
Yeah.
These 3 cameras, the microphones, like everything is like microscopic. Like
right.
You're under a microscope.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way.
Yeah. So that's acceptance is it's here and that's okay. And then unless you want to share more about acceptance, I is investigate. And that's like, what is that anxiety like in your body? We started talking about that a little bit.
It has shifted. It's not as intense now.
What is it like right now?
It's moved lower in my body, and it's like it's just there's not as much movement.
Mm-hmm. What is it? Yeah, what does it feel like?
Well, it was like very turbulent, and now it just feels like a little heavier, and like I'm becoming more grounded. Like I can feel that process.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you notice anything in your breath? Sometimes when I get anxious, I don't breathe deeply. I do shallow breaths.
Yeah. It's definitely harder for me to take deeper breaths whenever I'm anxious. And there's a little bit of that right now.
Yep.
I think that's why I get hot, right? Because that activates the parasympathetic nervous system.
Right. Makes sense. So eyes investigate. It's where we figure out what's present inside of our body. It's kind of like this somatic investigation. Somatic investigation. And then N is nurture. That's that like self-compassion, self-empathy, kind of love yourself, this anxious being. That's rain. I don't know how we would nurture ourselves. Maybe take a couple deep breaths together.
Sure.
Yeah, we could close our eyes or soften our gaze. And that's Peppermint. She probably wants to say hi. If she scratches a couple more times, I'll let her say hi. What's your dog?
I'm fine with dogs.
Okay. And
I am a cat person, but I love animals. So,
yeah,
you know.
She's an animal. And just take a couple deep breaths. Yeah, whatever. The only thing that's required in this moment is like the life that we've both lived up until now. It's like there's nothing you have to do or say. No preparation needed.
Okay.
Sometimes people ask me, what do I need to do? And I'm like, well,
yeah,
I think you've already done it.
Yeah, I just tried to watch a few of your episodes.
Oh, you did? Cool. Some people do that. And then I get nervous. Awesome. Well, we'll chat for a little bit, like a pre-chat, before I start, and then I'll like do the whole intro thing.
Okay.
Let's see here. I'll have this, but really just to keep time.
Sure.
I shouldn't be on it other than just to respect time and some of the... Oop, put that on that. Karlie Lemos?
Lemos.
Mm-hmm. Lemos. You know what I noticed?
A lot of people say Lemos, and I don't correct them.
You don't?
Mm-mm.
Because you're chill.
It just doesn't... I have a name where I have to spell my first and last name every time.
Because the I-E.
Yeah.
And the K.
And when you've been doing that your whole life, you're just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to.
You did something.
Right.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lemos, though.
Lemos. Yeah.
Lemos. You know what I noticed? That Mary really needs to change her name to be Marie.
But then that would be a different name.
I know, but Holly's Hollie, and you're Karlie Karlie.
Yeah, so Holly also has like a challenge with her name.
I imagine.
Yeah.
I'm just going for continuity.
That's
and this is
really
all just
funny.
Yeah, goofy.
That is really funny.
Lemos. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Lemos. I think of like lemon for the front part. And
yeah, sometimes I say if people are stumped, or they seem like they're not sure, I'll say it's like lemons without the N. Yeah,
Lemos. That's perfect. I would never spell Karlie that way.
No one would.
And it's not
ever.
Personal. Yeah, it's just I think I've been conditioned in my life to spell Karlie a certain way.
Like Karlie Simon.
Karlie Simon. How did you know that?
Well, that's what everybody says.
Yeah, we're both the same age. So
yeah. I mean, anybody that's our age or older.
That's our Karlie. That's our reference to Karlie.
Yeah.
It's Karlie Simon.
Yeah.
Did she sing that song? You think this song is about
You're so vain. That's
you're so vain.
The song that she's known for.
I bet you think this song is about you. Yeah. That's a good song. And I think that song was about him. Yeah.
About like her partner or something?
Yeah.
Probably so.
She was saying it wasn't about him, but it was.
Yeah. It's a paradox.
It's a paradox. Awesome, dude. Okay, so Karlie Lemos, what's your title? Or what are you, if you had a business card, what would you put under your name?
Oh, it says co-owner. I do have a business card.
Co-owner.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, like if you introduce yourself at like a tea party to folks that didn't know you,
I wouldn't say any of that.
I
mean, my
either.
email signature says like ERYT 500, you know.
What is ER?
Experienced registered yoga teacher. It means like I've taught more than 1,000 hours.
ERYT.
Although
registered yoga teacher.
Yeah. It just means that you, as a yoga teacher, have taught more than 1,000 like classroom hours.
And that's a lot of hours, right?
Yeah, I mean,
1,000 hours?
I don't know. I've taught more than that now, but
I imagine. How long have you taught?
About 17 or 18 years.
Dang. 17 years of yoga teaching, and you teach like full time or
close to it. I mean, I did teach full time before I was involved with the studio to the degree that I am.
Mm-hmm. Dang. ERYT. Anything else you like as part of this? I was going to go in when I say my guest today is Karlie.
I don't want you to say the ERYT
Lemos.
part.
Okay, what do you want me to say? Just yoga teacher?
Yeah, yoga teacher, co-owner of Studio Satya. That's
yoga teacher, co-owner.
I don't like talking about what I do with people, but if they were to ask me, I would say I co-own a yoga studio.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I would say. And if they say, you know, do you teach yoga? I say, yeah, I've been teaching for a long time and I still teach as well.
Heck yeah, you teach. Anything else you want folks to know about you? One example is like David Beaver. He's the professor of philosophy and linguistics, and he's the professor of that, and he's the director of the cognitive science program at UT. He's a UT tenured professor, and he said lover of dance.
I don't think I want to add anything along those lines.
Okay. So I'll just say co-owner of Studio Satya and yoga teacher. Yeah, that's cool.
And I think that sums it up clearly and accurately.
Yeah. What are you excited about yoga right now? What excites you about yoga?
You know what's funny is that it always comes back to the same things for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I might veer away for a little while, but it's always the philosophy that excites me.
Philosophy of yoga.
Yeah, it always comes back to that for me in some way. And I don't know, I was going to say more, but I feel like that's more something that would be on camera, so I'll save it.
What we're doing is right now is trying to get to the Phil Phails, like the kind of the episode title, which I normally get there by finding out like I think it's important to find out what's exciting and where someone's interests are. Our attention is right now, because that's probably where we'll get the most kind of passionate discourse.
And I feel like almost anything can be seen through the lens of yoga.
Really? It's like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yeah, I haven't read that book, but yeah, I imagine so. So I'm reading this book right now because I'm about to lead book club at the studio.
That's right.
And it's really deep and intense, like way more than I thought that it would be. But there's one theme that's like moving throughout the book, and I was like, that's the same as like Shiva. That's like the cycles of Shiva, and that's yoga. Like it's the same thing.
Yeah. What is Shiva?
So Shiva is one of the deities, right, in Hindu, you know, through the Hindu culture, or also seen in yoga. There's iconography that's very famous.
It's not the one that's destruction, is it?
Yeah.
It's destruction.
But it's not just destruction. That's the thing. It's the whole process.
Creation and destruction.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like the death card in tarot.
Right.
Yeah. It's transition, or maybe not that, but so you get excited about the philosophy of yoga and see it throughout your life in different stories or...
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what else I'm excited about in yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, like I said, like I always kind of come back to the same things. And it's like with asana, I get excited about the basics, which I've been studying for almost 30 years,
Yeah.
you know?
The basics.
Yeah, but it's just fascinating to me because I feel like there's always more to learn.
Yeah.
Like you could do a basic pose like Trikonasana every day of your life. And to me, there's a new thing to experience in it every time.
What is Trikonasana?
Triangle pose.
Triangle pose, that's right. Triangle pose.
That's just an example, right? But any of the basic poses.
Yeah. Like a downward facing dog.
Yeah.
Like there's a infinite number of things you could
experience or like
in that pose.
Witness about yourself.
Yeah. Phil Phails at, let's see. I like that. That's super cool. We can definitely talk about that. It reminds me of like beginner's mind.
Yes. Yeah. So I was talking about this yesterday. I have been working out at the gym for about 1.5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was having some health issues where like PT, I was in PT and it was like helping, but not to the degree that I wanted it to help.
Right.
And based on a conversation I had with my PT, I was like, maybe I should just start working out. It's time anyway. I'm older.
Dude,
like,
working out is good for everybody.
Right. I know.
Especially older folks.
Right. I don't like it. I have never enjoyed
it.
I've learned to like it, but I never liked it before. I hated going to the gym, but also I'm older now, right? So I was it's probably time anyway, right?
Yeah.
All these things are.
A lot of these studies that I read say that like longevity.
Yes.
And all that stuff. Yeah, or benefit from strength and conditioning, resistance training.
Right. So I've been working out consistently for about 1.5 years and kind of doing the same thing, right? Every single time I go to the gym. And then recently my friend started a personal training business. And so she was like inviting me to come like try, like work with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I don't know how to deadlift.
Ooh.
And that is something that I think is kind of fascinating. Like when I see other people do it, I think it seems really fun. And I would like to eventually learn how to do that. So I literally just a few days ago had one session with her where, I mean, I wasn't deadlifting, but we were doing like, you know, like the precursor to that. And it was that like, I just felt like I don't know any of this.
Yeah.
And in my body, for someone who professionally does
movement.
Right. And helps people with movement. Like I was just like, this is really challenging, like for my brain and my body to make the connection. And like, I'm reflecting back now to having done that. And it is not integrated. Like I told her, I was like, we got to do that same thing again. Because I'm not even sure what we did.
That's great for your brain.
Right.
That's like lifelong learning. That's what keeps our brain fresh too.
Yeah. And that that perspective of like what I experience with her in the gym is what other people experience when they come into the yoga studio.
Yes.
And you can always go back there, even as someone who's been practicing for decades. It's a little more challenging, but the fact that you can go back there to me is exciting.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, why would I still be practicing, you know, yoga in the movement form? Like I would not, because I would be bored. Right. But it's not boring. It's like I said, you can do the same pose every day. And to me, it's fascinating every time.
Because it's a new pose every time.
Right.
There's that saying, you never jump in the same river twice.
Exactly. I've said that many times in classes.
Yeah.
You do and you don't.
Yeah. Because your body's different. Your mind's different.
You're in a different season of your life.
Yeah. Every muscle's different. Every skill.
You had a different experience when you woke up that morning.
Right.
That's going to inform how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really cool. And I could see multiple benefit from that experience for you, because you can put yourself in the position of these students who are actually doing it for one of the first times or within the first 100 hours of it.
Well, I helped someone with downward dog yesterday, like in class, and then after class he was clarifying, like, okay, so this is what you mean. And that to me is just so wonderful that like it was starting to make sense to him, and he's understanding the pose more. Like he's starting to feel it more in his body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he was doing something with his shoulders that it's fine. But like potentially he was internally rotating a lot, right? And
A lot.
potentially that could over time cause some pain and tension, right? And so I was helping him with the external rotation. And then afterwards he was like, so what I need to do is, and we had a conversation about it. And like, that's just like so exciting to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
that somebody who's newer to yoga is interested in working in a basic pose and starting to feel what that feels like.
Yeah. I could see some folks being like, I just want the end poses, the cool stuff that's in the magazines. I just want you to.
And I've had that experience.
I want a
with
crow.
people.
I want to like. What are some of the hardcore poses?
I mean, any of the inversions or arm balances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what people think yoga is, and we're
Absolutely.
going there.
Absolutely.
As opposed to like, no, this is a spiritual or a mindful practice that incorporates all of these.
Exactly. And like, as far as a class being like physically challenging, it can be that without any of that.
Right.
It's just like you're saying, mindfulness and awareness. Like if you're moving slow
and you're tensing your body,
and
if
you're
like
engaging,
flexing your body,
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, I have a regular student, she's been practicing with me for years, and she almost always takes my Tuesday night hatha class.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think of this story, like someone one time said, oh, I don't like practicing hatha because it's just too easy. And I had shared that with her, and she goes, they're doing it wrong.
They're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, because I work out now. I go to the gym religiously. I've often called the gym my church now because there's a congregation. I have a community there, and I went one time, well, numerous times, and this trainer was like, okay, let's do a squat with low weight, but I want you to feel every muscle of your body and go down into a squat as if you're going through molasses, like feel it and then feel it coming back up. And it was like hard.
Yeah, to move that slowly.
To move that slowly and to engage all the muscles of your body in orchestration of the movement.
Right.
And so anything can be as challenging or as easy as you want it to be. Like, how much of your faculties are you bringing to bear on that movement?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm still trying to find our Phil Phails, but you mentioned hatha, and I wondered if we could talk about all the different styles of yoga that you guys do at the studio.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about how they're different, because sometimes I go to all the different classes and I think this is just like, yeah, how is this different from the other one? Like, and so maybe the philosophy behind yin versus vinyasa versus hatha versus, for stress management or resilience. There's some of those classes there, and it's like, okay, how are these different? Maybe we could talk about that some.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it a ton just because it's hard for me to know exactly what people are teaching, right? So I don't want to like speak wrong to something but
makes sense.
But I'm fine with like kind of touching on it.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm just trying to think about what kind of things we could chat about. Types of yoga. Man, philosophy of yoga or basics. We could do Phil Phails at the basics.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important topic.
Well, it is because, like you said, people who I don't want to generalize, but some people, right, who are new to yoga are not interested in that. Like they just they think that, I can do something that like is like a party trick, or I'll learn that.
Yeah.
And I think learning the basics, it's a very Eastern path, right? Because it's slow.
Yeah.
Like you may not see the benefits for a long time.
Yeah. It unfolds over time and practice.
Yeah. And it takes that practice to be able to make those connections and integration, like to see the benefits. And some people aren't interested in that. There's some people say like, oh, I hate yoga. And I don't judge people for that. Like,
yeah.
It's not important to me or my business, honestly, whether you like yoga or not.
Yeah.
But my guess is that someone took one yoga class had whatever experience they had and then just let it go, you know?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a different word, but basics. Basics won't really communicate anything to the audience. It kind of does. Is there a better word? What do you think? Just thinking about the masses, seeing like Phil Phails at
Yeah.
basics.
I mean, I
something
thought
like
of another
that.
word, but I don't think it's good
We
either.
yoga basics, but really we're talking about more than just yoga. I mean, you take this type of intentionality to the, your life, to things that are important. Ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Was it you that said the quote that ritual is something that brings structure to your life?
I don't think that was me.
It was someone said that quote in one of the classes recently, and it stuck with me. It's like a call to the present moment when you say, like, how am I doing this? What is this? How can I be fully present with this thing that I'm doing?
I love a ritual though. Like I love a routine. I love a like predictability, you know? It's so grounding.
Yeah. Predictability. Yeah. I've sat Zazen at the Austin Zen Center, and they have all these rituals around what's occurring. And when they talk about it, or I talked to one of them about it, and they said, these are all calls to be here now.
Right.
You're with this thing.
I mean, that's what makes it different from, you know, sitting in front of a TV or from, you know, doing exercise on your yoga mat, right? It's those distinctions. Like there's a difference between someone lighting a candle in a church, right? In that ritual versus like if someone then like used that flame to light a cigarette, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that takes away like the sanctity of it. And I think that yoga and meditation have that same sort of, to a degree, right, sanctity as well. Like the studio is always clean, right? And that's really important to me. And that's one of the pieces of yoga philosophy, saucha. Right? Saucha is cleanliness. And it's not just like your own cleanliness, but the space, right? You can't have the experience, a sort of idealized experience, if it's dirty, you know?
Yeah.
Like I have a hard time practicing at home sometimes because I just can't keep my house as clean as I would prefer. And it's distracting. But the studio is always clean. So then you can just relax and like be present.
That makes sense. Phil Phails at...
I mean, I could talk a little bit more about saucha and how it's relevant to philosophy too.
Saucha.
Mm-hmm.
That's cleanliness?
Yeah. It's one of the, I'm going to double check this before I say it on camera, that it's the yamas and not niyamas, but it's one of the yamas. The yamas and niyamas are sort of like precepts to the yoga practice.
Okay. Precepts means like the precursors or like the religion or the, maybe not religion.
No, but like the sort of foundational attitudes. Okay. Right. So, and again, I'm going to look just to be 100% sure that I'm not confusing yamas and niyamas. Let me do that now. So.
Okay. This just swivels out.
Okay.
Just swivel it like that.
I feel 99% confident that I would want to say it on camera.
No worries. Phil Phails at... yoga philosophy. But it can be for more than just yoga. It's like a way of life, right? Like it's...
For sure.
It's... But yoga lets them know, hey, this is kind of where this is where it originates from for you.
So it's actually the niyamas I did split switch.
That's cool. Good thing you looked.
Yeah.
Those comments would have gone crazy.
Yeah, no, it's...
Oh, did she even know what she's talking about? It's the niyamas. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So there are 8 limbs of yoga, like through Patanjali's yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Are you somewhat familiar with that?
No.
Okay. So
I'm excited about that too. I could learn about that stuff if you wanted to talk about it.
sure. So there are 8 limbs of yoga according to Patanjali, right? Patanjali and the Yoga Sutras, which is one of the foundational texts of Hatha Yoga.
Yeah.
And not everyone practices that way, but it is common for people to practice through that Ashtanga yoga lens. Ashtanga meaning like 8-limbed.
Ashtanga.
Ashta means 8.
Tonga means limbs.
I believe so. So the yamas and the niyamas are the first two steps of the 8-limbed path, right? And the path, the 8th, is liberation, right? That's where you're headed towards.
Dang, that's similar to Buddhism. They got the 8-fold path.
Right. Which I'm not as familiar with by any means, but yeah.
Yeah. There's 8 limbs to yoga. So you're into that. You're into like the history of yoga and like the philosophy of yoga. Let's talk about that stuff.
So the yamas are the attitudes that you have with your community, and the niyamas are sort of the attitudes or behavior that you have with yourself.
What would we call that? Phil Phails at yoga history or yoga philosophy, maybe?
Maybe yoga philosophy.
Okay. I'm cool with that. Phil Phails at yoga philosophy. We got that. And then we could talk about types of yoga. We'll do in between. We'll do like a little improv game, and then I normally do a life story, like where the person shares like their childhood and kind of what brought them to who they are and what they've chosen to do with their life, their mission or their purpose. And that'll be like the second kind of half. And there's a lot of flow. Like we could do anything. There's a lot of openness and flexibility with how we spend this time together. I like it to be co-created.
Sure.
Let's see. Anything else I should know before I do the whole intro thing?
I don't think so.
You can have your phone with you too if you need to look anything up. It's okay.
Okay.
People won't think like, well, people are going to think whatever they want. Just swivel it out. People are going to think whatever they want, but the fact is, it's hard to keep all the information in your brain.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And sometimes we need refreshers, and that's okay. It doesn't make you any less of an expert.
Well, I mean, if I were going to teach, I would have sat down and read my book, my philosophy book before,
Yeah.
But I wasn't planning on talking about that before coming here. It just kind of came up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit closer than you like, but boom. I think that's good. You want to do anything before I do the clap thing and we start? We clap together before we start.
I think I'm ready.
Have you ever done the clap game in improv?
Pass the clap?
Is that what it's called?
Maybe.
Yeah, where the circle of people and you would look at somebody and you clap together. We're going to do that to start the game.
Okay.
Or not the game, but I guess this is a game. Sometimes I like to think of like adults as just kids playing on a playground and they've just decided to get real serious about whatever they're playing. And that like makes it more important. Like I'm gonna count and just think of like a little kid just like counting rocks.
I'm very much in that world right now because my daughter's 5. So
yeah. Like that childlike fun and play. Like if I could realize that
everything's a game to her. Everything.
I think everything's a game to us. We just forgot.
Yeah.
And got real serious about everything. And it's all serious too. Goodness. Got to get that 401k.
I just had a brief conversation yesterday about like financial goals and retirement. So yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. I did the fitness. It seems like we're on the same page. I did the fitness thing. I've been going religiously because it seemed like that was one of the most important things. Like, it's like money or health. All these things are really important because if I'm going to live to an old age, I need to have that physical health.
Yeah, I mean, you want to enjoy it.
And cognitive health.
Yeah. And they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. And then there's another part of like, you want to have some money. But I think you could probably, if you found happiness with whatever you had, and you had that physical and mental health, that'd be better than having a bunch of money and not having
For sure.
And not having the physical and mental health.
For sure.
Okay. I'm going to say your last name one more time just to make sure I got it right. Lemos.
Mm-hmm.
Karlie Lemos.
It's phonetic, which is, I think it trips people up because they want it to be something that it's not.
Sometimes when I would look at it quickly, like when I was writing, I don't remember, I was writing something down. Oh yeah, I was sharing who I was interviewing for the weekend. And I looked at it in my mind, it just said lemon. Like my mind read it, it like didn't read all the letters quickly.
I've even had people write LEM with an Enya, like in Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
But that actually doesn't exist. It's only the N that has the Enya. There isn't one with an M.
Oh, they put yeah, okay.
I know.
I put
like they're trying to make it a different language,
Yeah.
but they did it wrong. And I'm like, you don't, or people will say, like on the phone, you know, I'll say who I am and they'll go, oh, Karlie Ramos.
Ramos.
Yeah.
Are you of Hispanic descent?
I am, but Lemos is not.
Lemos is not.
No, it's Greek.
Okay. Are you of Greek descent?
Somewhat.
Greek and Spanish?
Yes.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Cool. All right. You ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll clap together. Then I'll just introduce us. And then we'll have a talk. The first will be like Phil Phails Phive questions, which can be questions or can be like just like a conversation.
Okay.
Just have whatever feels good to us. How do you do it? You want to do it again?
So I might not know how to play because I'm used to doing it like around a circle.
I do too.
Okay. So the way I've played it around a circle is like you turn to the person next to you.
Oh, we would like, you would pick anybody.
Oh, so this is a different game.
You'd have
So tell me how to
anyone
play.
from the, well, it's just you and me, so we're just going to clap at the same time. You want to initiate it and I'll follow you?
Okay.
That's pretty good. No, I'll try. Real good. I do that because old school, they would have that little thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you could synchronize the audio to the video.
Yep.
Nowadays with these editors, they've got like advanced alignment to waveform functionality. But I think this is a fun attunement exercise for the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today my guest is Karlie Lemos. She is the co-owner of Studio Satya and a yoga teacher. Wave to everybody, Karlie.
Hello.
Yeah. Today, Phil Phails at Yoga Philosophy. We're going to talk about yoga philosophy.
Great. I love yoga philosophy.
Yeah. Karlie's been teaching yoga for, I wrote it down, 17 years.
17 or 18 years, yeah.
17 or 18 years.
I didn't do the math, but that's close enough.
And you've been practicing for
maybe like 26 years.
That's a long time.
It's the longest relationship I've ever had outside of my parents.
Yeah. 26
myself.
years of yoga. What got you into yoga in the beginning?
Well, so I grew up dancing, and so I was always in my body. And it just felt sort of like a natural thing for me because, you know, I would get up in the morning and go to dance practice, and then after school I would dance. And so it was just kind of like what I did. And then when I stopped dancing, when I was around 18, I was like, now what do I do? Like, there's not this structure anymore of like, I have to do this thing with my body.
When you stopped dancing, you love dancing. Why'd you stop dancing?
I stopped dancing formally.
Yeah, okay.
Like, you know, and I still dance. But like, when I stopped, you know, performing, I should say, right?
Right.
I stopped performing after high school. I didn't pursue anything, which I'm not sure why. I think maybe like when I reflect back, it didn't even occur to me that I could have like studied dance in college. Like
Really?
that never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
That might have been a good thing for me to do.
Huh.
But anyway, so yeah, so I was just like, now what do I do? And I experimented with like, running a little bit. And I've always loved walking. I used to walk a lot with my mom when I was in high school. We would go to the track at my high school and walk together. And so I kept doing that. And then I was like, well, maybe I should like, go to the gym and take some like classes, right? Like fitness classes, which I do not enjoy fitness classes
Yeah.
to this day. I didn't even really like them then, but I wasn't really sure. Like I knew that I had this energy that I had to like move in my body because
Yeah.
it's what I'd always done and it's how I like managed things, but I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So I took some fitness classes. It was fine, it was whatever.
It's just fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it helped. So I got the movement that I needed.
Movement is medicine.
Right. And then this was in 1990, like 8 probably. I looked at like the little paper schedule of the classes and there was one yoga class.
Uh-huh.
And it just said yoga because back then there were no like
yin, vinyasa, flow,
none of that.
hatha.
Like,
it was
that
just
did
like
not exist.
yoga.
Yes, it was a yoga class. What do take a yoga class? There was no like, I'm going to take it like exactly what you said. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to take a vinyasa yoga class. I'm going to take a yin. No, none of that.
We're going to yoga.
Right. So I went to the yoga class and at that point in my life, just like, I think it was just like part of youthfulness. I had a lot of energy and I remembered having a little bit of a hard time sometimes just like sitting for any period of time. Like even like if I was at home and I wanted to watch a movie, I didn't really want to sit through the whole thing. I'd have to like get up and do something else. And at the end of the class, I was just sitting there. Like I was sitting and I was quiet and I didn't feel like I needed to get up.
It was the medicine your body needed and maybe your mind needed.
I think it was, probably more what my mind needed. And I just was so curious, like what just happened? Like, how is it that I'm able to sit still like this? Like what? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Not long after that, I moved here. Or probably that same year. That's when I moved here around probably 98. And I had, dial-up internet and I started trying to find yoga poses on the internet and like teach myself a little bit, which was helpful. And then I went to Free Day of Yoga, which still exists. So Free Day of Yoga happens every Labor Day.
Yeah.
And there's just free yoga that's offered all around the city. And I went to a studio, which, this was in the 90s. So of course, it no longer exists. But I went to a studio that was an Iyengar yoga studio.
What was it?
Iyengar yoga.
Iyengar yoga.
Yeah. And I took a class and I was like, I really want to do this. Like, I want to come back. I want to keep doing this on a more regular basis. And so I did. I started practicing at that Iyengar studio in the 90s. And, there's a lot more, of course, that happened between now and then. But that's kind of how I originally got interested in like a regular practice.
2 questions. One we'll put off till we talk about types of yoga because I don't know what Iyengar yoga is. So I'm going to write this down to ask you about later. But 26 years later, do you know how yoga brought you that stillness of mind and body? Because you were like, how did this happen? Like, what just happened to me? Have you found an answer to that question?
I mean, I think it's the experience of the practice. Like I often say, yoga is both a practice and an experience. And ideally, you're able to find that sort of experience of integration, right? Or, if we're going to take it really big, union, right? And I guess I just got really lucky because I don't know that. I mean, I have no data, but I don't know if people find that like the first time that they practice that sort of connection to the self. That's what it was. And it just, the practice worked for me.
Yeah.
That day.
Immediately.
Yeah.
I imagine it depends on a lot of things, what brings them there. But for you, it made sense and it led to a lifelong journey of better understanding the practice, having experiences around it, and studying?
Yeah, I mean, I studied just in the yoga room,
Mm-hmm.
for a while. And then I did my first 200-hour training. I don't know when that was. Not too long, terribly long after that. I could do the math, but I'm not going to right now.
Yeah, let's not do math.
Yeah. And then, and then I started studying a different style of yoga that was popular at that point in time called Anusara yoga,
That's another
which
one.
was very heavily rooted in philosophy and in Kashmir Shaivism. And that really lit me up, the philosophy of that. And I got really deep into all of that study with my teacher, who I still study with. And yeah.
Is it a religion? It's not a
No.
religion.
It's kind of confusing because Hinduism is a religion.
And yoga has been coupled with Hinduism?
Yeah. And I'm not sure. I'm not confident in this, but I think most Hindu practitioners have some sort of yoga practice, probably not what ours looks like, but
Yeah.
through and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but arti, which is the practice of lighting the lamps and prayer.
Okay.
That's a yoga practice.
Okay.
But it looks nothing like what you would see in a Western yoga studio. Or mantra. Mantra is part of the Hindu religion as well, I think.
Yeah.
I don't really know a lot about Hinduism, but
If there's any Hindus watching and we've said something incorrect, just comment. Let us know.
yeah.
We want to know.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to correction or education.
We want to learn and grow.
Yeah.
But this is kind of how Karlie has embodied it up till now. We can be imperfect here. Phil Phails 5 questions. Are you ready?
Was that the first question?
Oh my goodness. You're the kind of person that's like, you get 3 wishes. You're like, I want 100 wishes.
Oh yeah, that's the first wish. Can I get 100 more wishes? Yeah.
That's
I'm
smart.
ready.
That's smart. What is yoga?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was the definition through what we talked about briefly before the camera was on, through Patanjali, right? Through that lens of philosophy, which is yoga chitta spriti nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuation of the mind.
A cessation of the fluctuation of the mind. So calming or stilling of the mind.
Mm-hmm. That's a well-known definition that I align with. Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. One of my teachers has said, yoga is the state where nothing is missing, which I also really like.
Where nothing is missing. It's kind of like, I think of monkey mind in Eastern traditions. It's like calming that monkey mind. I also think of meditation. It's a form of meditation. Is it a form of meditation?
I mean, it's all inclusive, right? That's part of the yoga practice, right? Is meditation.
What are other parts of it?
I mean, if we're talking about Hatha yoga and this sort of 8-limb path that I briefly mentioned earlier, well, I guess to me, that's kind of a hard question. Like, what are the other parts of it? Because it depends on the perspective that you're looking through.
Is movement part of yoga?
Yes. I mean, I'm sure somebody is going to argue with me on that.
Yeah, let them.
I guarantee.
Bring it. So someone could do yoga without moving their body,
yes,
is what someone's going to say.
Well, that's true also.
You can do yoga without moving your body.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, goodness. I thought yoga was the moving the body.
Moving the body as asana.
That's asana.
Yeah, asana is the postures, yeah. the seat that we take.
Mm. But that's not yoga itself.
No.
No. Yoga is a cessation of the fluctuations of the mind.
Or yoga is an experience, right? It's not
experience.
something that can be visually, you can't see it with your eyes.
Really?
I mean, you can see someone practicing yoga.
But it happens within them.
Right.
They have an experience of yoga.
That's what I think.
But you could also not know. They could just be sitting there.
Well, that's something I've said a lot.
Having yoga.
That's what I've said a lot to like students, is that there are people who I think are yogis, like, well, yogis, but who I think of as like someone who sort of embodies that energy of what like a yoga practice would bring, but they don't practice yoga. You know, like if you asked, I'm thinking of someone in particular in my life, do you practice yoga? They might say like, oh yeah, a little bit, not really, but every once in a while I put in my VHS tape or, you know, whatever. But to me, the person I'm thinking of is like I aspire to be that loving and like centered and gracious and grounded, you know?
Like they've stumbled upon enlightenment or found some other avenue there.
Well, yeah. And I'm not going to reveal about this person. Like, I know what their practices are.
Okay, yeah. They had some pathway.
Yes.
Some kind of formal or...
Yeah. That's working for them.
Yeah.
You know.
Is enlightenment, is that synonymous? Like there's some... Are we doing yoga to achieve something? Is there like a personal or transcendental outcome?
I mean, I think whether or not someone is doing yoga to achieve something is an individualized question. But if you're asking if I'm doing yoga to achieve something, I think that it is very difficult to become enlightened, like in this world.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I know anyone that's enlightened, doubtful. I think maybe we can have like glimpses of that, you know, but they're, in my experience, like very brief, like so brief, you know. But I just want to be, you know, I just want to be like the best person that I can be. And what I mean by that is like, I don't want to be angry. I don't want my mind, you know, to be all over the place to the point where it affects my behavior and my choices. And for me, yoga is a helpful tool in that.
Yeah.
And also, of course, everyone is angry and everyone's mind goes all over the place.
Anger is a part of the human experience, yes, right? So there's some way of being with it in a healthy way.
Yes. Yeah.
When I first came to you guys, when I say you guys, I mean Karlie, Mary, and Holly. Holly, Mary, and Karlie. Look, I'd put them in whatever order my mind gives them, but they're all, it's a flat hierarchy.
I like how you did that, how you reordered.
It's a flat hierarchy, y'all. There's no, yeah. The first thing I asked was like, how do I come up with a SMART goal for, how can I see, SMART is what? Specific, measurable, attainable. What is R? T is timely. R is like, oh, let's just forget about R. But the question was really, what will happen to me over time and commitment to this practice in a way that's noticeable and observable, partially so I can show that to an audience. Like, this is the benefits of yoga. This is how your body and mind will change through yoga. And I've asked you guys, I've asked other yoga instructors, it's not an easy thing to come upon.
That's really tricky. So if you're looking at the philosophy and going back to yoga as a cessation of fluctuation of the mind, which is Yoga Sutra 1, right? It's the first pada or the first book and the first verse. And then you look at the ones that come after that. It sort of really briefly says, like, this is the outcome. right? Or this is how you get there. And what it says is the seer will be established in their own true nature. So when you do these practices, you'll be established in your own true nature. You'll see yourself. Is that possible? I think so. But is that measurable?
To see yourself, to behave and act and express in the world in a way that's more in alignment with your true nature.
If you're looking at it as like modern, I think, yes, this text is thousands of years old. So it's speaking to people who were not living a householder life like we are, right?
Yeah.
These are people who were just practicing yoga, just sitting in meditation.
That's all they were doing.
Right, exactly. But, also yoga, in my opinion, is a living tradition, right?
Right.
And we have to be aware that we're not living that way. We are living in the world. We are living in our homes with our families or in our jobs and interacting with interfacing with all kinds of different people. And so if we're looking at it through that lens, then yes, I think that if one can start to see who they really are, right, which is so hard to do for so many different reasons, then hopefully we can interact from that place, from that perspective.
Who we really are. That's a difficult one. Like when? Imagine before the world kind of influenced us.
Yeah. So it's sort of like the analogy I use sometimes is you're born and, you're free and you don't have any of these impressions, or in yoga we would say like samskaras, right?
Samskaras, yeah.
Like impressions on your consciousness. And your family and your school and culture, right?
Yeah.
Society starts to build like a box around you, and you have to fit inside that box because that's what we do, right?
Or a cage, y'all.
And so the yoga practice is sort of a way to start to dismantle that box.
So you can express more freely.
Yeah, you sort of like push away at the box and break it down and take pieces off of it so that you can remember who you were, which is really who you are, right? It's also, I say a lot, it's a practice of remembering.
Yeah. And we need that. I mean, why do we force everybody into boxes when what we really find beautiful in the world is pure expression and creativity and fun and play? And at the same time, part of us must not like that. Well, because we want the house to be quiet when we have a headache. Or I imagine all the things happen through some natural kind of process. I guess I just went in my parenting brain.
Yeah, well, and when you said that, I flashed to my own child, and like, this morning she was up early and just sweet as sweet can be, but like so loud,
Yeah. And then when you're like, clam it, I'm still resting. Does she get the message that she needs to not be? There's got to be some both and here. Ugh. But we're all going to get messages from our primary caregivers, from the world, that we need to tamp down things that are exuberant and creative and colorful and fun and wild.
Yeah.
We need that wildness. I think we need both, I guess.
Yeah, there's a balance in all things.
That's that middle way.
Middle path.
Middle path. So I'm honing in on, after a yoga practice, there might be more stillness of the mind. There might be more balance or resilience in your mind.
Yeah. I hope so. That's my hope.
Because at first I thought, oh, I'll be able to get deeper into a stretch.
I mean, I think those are side effects. Really great side effects.
Yeah. I'll be
really wonderful side effects that I love and I love to share.
I'll be stretchier.
Yeah.
I'll have more flexibility. And if I wanted to demonstrate that, I could just be like, well, here's how far I can bend down, or here's.
And also, in the West, that's the way that we have translated yoga. That's the way we've marketed yoga. That's the way we've consumed yoga, myself included. And I think that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever gets people to take the medicine.
I mean, that's what got me there.
Yeah.
You know, like I shared before we were recording, like I wanted to move my body and I wasn't really sure how I wanted to move my body. I just knew that I needed to move my body.
Yeah. And so taking the forms and the shapes and doing it, it's going to happen.
I mean,
it did happen to you
it
the first
happened
time.
for me.
Yeah, the first time.
Yeah. And then like, you know, I think like some people just want to move, right? And that's their intention. Like they just want to come into a yoga class and move their body, and that's fine. Like it's again, like it's not my business what people want from a yoga practice unless they want to talk to me about it. Then I'm open to hearing and supporting. But if someone's coming in and I don't know anything about their intention and they just want to move their body, great. Like I hope they get what they need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to that. But I think often what happens when someone practices consistently, you know, over time, they start to see something different, right? Something like taps them on the shoulder and is like, hey, it's not just that. Like there's more than that. And there's more to be curious about than just moving your body and working out.
Yeah. That makes sense. Let's talk about these limbs. The first two limbs are the niyama.
Yamas and niyamas.
The yamas and the niyamas. One of them is your relationship to community, and that's the
yamas.
The yamas. Is that the first one?
Mm-hmm.
And then the niyamas is your relationship to self.
Right.
Can you say more about those?
I feel like I want to double check that one.
You can double check that.
I keep flip-flopping yama and niyama in my mind.
Karlie, and you can say no to this question, but have you ever been diagnosed with ADHD?
No, I have not.
Okay. Just someone moving their body, I think, I wonder if they ever had hyperactivity.
Did I flip them again? Let's see.
Oh, people let us know. You flip them.
No, yamas are external.
Yamas external.
That's the way I'm gonna say that.
Niyamas. Yes.
Yeah, I don't. That would be going on to a tangent, I think, to talk about the ADD thing, but
yeah. Don't worry about it. So yamas is external. How would you share a little bit about yamas?
So the first one, for example, is ahimsa. And
ahimsa.
Ahimsa is non-harming. Right? So ahimsa means to harm, and then in Sanskrit, when you place the A in front, it negates, right? So non-harming.
Okay.
And that is a big, deep topic. Like we could get into what that means, but I guess it's sort of the idea that you can't have this experience of stilling your mind if you're going to be hurting yourself or other people, right?
Makes sense. Does the yamas is it a list of different things?
They're lists. Yeah.
They love lists back then. Buddhists have all the lists.
Yep.
When you get done with the first list for Buddhists is the Four Noble Truths. And the fourth noble truth is another darn list.
Yeah.
The Eightfold Path.
Yeah, I know. If you're into lists, like Buddhism is probably.
And Hinduism too, probably. So the yamas has a list, and they're like ahimsa is one of them.
Is it parigraha, which is non-grasping?
Non-grasping.
Yeah.
This sounds similar to Buddhism.
I think, I don't know enough about Buddhism to say yet, but I mean, they're very similar. Like I mean, they're historically, they're
close together.
Yeah.
But Hinduism, wow, it seemed like that came first, right?
I'm not certain
Yeah,
about
me
that.
neither.
I don't know.
So there's non-grasping.
About history.
There's non-harm. There's non-grasping. Can you think of any other ones?
Brahmacharya, which is like celibacy or like your sexual behaviors, the choices you
don't have to
make
sneak it.
that.
You can look at your phone. Karlie's trying to sneak into her phone over there.
Well, I was trying to see if I missed anything because Satya, of course, is one of them.
Truth.
But Asteya is the one that I missed. Non-stealing.
Non-stealing.
Mm-hmm.
So truth, truthfulness, honesty, non-stealing. So the things like these are ways to behave in community.
Right.
And then
And the idea like back then was like if you're not really able to commit to these things, then maybe you're not ready to learn other things.
for a yoga practice.
Right.
Yeah. And then the niyamas is how to behave with yourself internally. What are those?
Saucha, right, which is cleanliness.
Cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness. There's that saying.
Santosha, which is contentment.
Being super chill and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Svadvaya. Svadvaya is self-study.
Lifelong learning.
Yeah. I think that would probably be a good way to think about it.
You're cultivating your mind. Yeah.
And then Ishvana Pranidhana. Ishvana Pranidhana is Ishvara is, however you want to think about it, right? God or the
Source,
the highest energy.
universe. Yeah. Creator.
Yeah. So like directing yourself towards that energy.
Directing yourself towards the energy, towards like a higher power.
Right.
More the highest power.
But I think like, if someone heard that and that was off-putting to them, like I don't think to me, like that's not required, right? Like it didn't come to yoga with like a big connection to God or, I think one can have whatever experience they have.
Yeah.
You don't have to follow.
They can just have a workout experience.
Well, yeah.
Right? I'm just going to do this as if it's a workout class.
Yeah. I mean, sure, one could do that.
One could do that. But they'll get the medicine if they do it over and over again.
That's what I think. I think if you stick with it long enough, you're going to see something different. Or you're going to get bored. One or the other.
Yeah. What's another limb? That's our first two limbs.
Asana is the third limb.
That's postures. So that's the movement or seat.
Yeah.
That's the movement aspect.
Pranayama.
That's breath. Breath work.
Practices or restraint of the breath. Pratyahara. Wow. Pratyahara is withdrawal of the senses. Pratyahara.
Oh man, I'm not even... I did Sanskrit words with Mary. Oh goodness, I don't want to do it today. Pratyahara.
Yeah.
Pratyahara. That sounds good. And that's
withdrawal of the senses.
Withdrawal of the senses.
So
that's
it's the
turning
idea
away
that
from your sight, smell, touch.
It's the idea that if your senses are all on all the time, that you can't really like get quiet and
that's kind of meditation, right?
Yeah. Well, these are the steps that are like leading towards, right? So dharana follows pratyahara, and dharana is one-pointed focus or concentration.
6 is one-pointed concentration. Concentration. Is that those like meditations where you focus on the flame of a candle?
Anything can be a point of focus.
You can focus on anything.
But that is an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You focus all your attention on this one thing, and then maybe you remove it and then you put it back, or that's that practice. And what was that one called?
Dharana.
Dharana. So that's the 6th limb.
Yeah, and the 7th one is dhyana, which is meditation, right? So they sort of follow, right? If you can develop that concentration, then you'll be able to meditate.
Meditation. Are these like levels? Like, do you do one and then you do the next one and then do you do the next one?
I mean, traditionally, yes. I don't think that happens anymore. But like, for example, sometimes I teach pranayama like before an asana practice, which would be non-traditional, right? Like traditionally, you would do movement and then breath work and then meditation.
Well, because the movement incorporates the breath work, though. At least in my experience with yoga teachers, they're like match breath to movement.
That's true, although that's not the same thing as pranayama.
Oh.
Because pranayama is it's like its own practice. Which, like I had mentioned briefly, just as an example, Iyengar yoga, like in Iyengar yoga, they don't actually practice like breath work during movement. It's like they have like pranayama class or like pranayama practice, asana practice, pranayama practice.
That's interesting. So they would, because there's probably a bunch of, just like there's a bunch of movements, downward facing dog.
Yeah, there's like
count.
I couldn't tell you how many.
There's a bunch of breath practices.
Yeah.
Of breath.
Yeah.
Where you could go in and do an hour of different breath practices.
Right.
I know about the fire breath. I've done that one. I've done the one where you breathe in one nostril and out the other one. I've done horse. I've done that one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's technically a pranayama. It may or may not be.
It's super fun.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah. 7 is meditation. 8.
Samadhi. Samadhi is like absorption, right? Like that's kind of the ultimate yoga experience, which kind of goes back to like with enlightenment, like I don't know that anyone actually experiences samadhi. Maybe they have like this blip of a moment where they're like, oh, I'm feeling that absorption with God or with the universe.
That's like returning to the universal oneness of everything. I think I probably experienced that on ketamine.
Probably.
Or LSD.
I think there are other avenues that are maybe more efficient to get there than doing yoga for decades.
Yeah,
or
those
like
psychedelic drugs
isolating yourself in.
Those psychedelic drugs will get you there.
Yeah.
I did a ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. I'm not condoning any drug use here, but ketamine will get you there, boy. I feel like I was in the oneness of the whole universe. Samadhi, to be absorbed. Wow. Have you had that glimpses of that in your practice?
I mean, I think I've had like incredibly brief moments. You know, would I say like, have I experienced samadhi? I would say no, but I think that I've had some very brief moments throughout.
Clarity of
yes, where I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but then it goes away.
You should write it down really fast, Karlie, when you just feverishly write.
But I mean, that's why we practice, right? Again, it's a remembering. It's like we have those moments and then we forget so very quickly. And so we practice again and again and again.
Yeah, to remember. 1 is the yamas. That's how we behave externally with other folks.
Our community.
And that seemed like the kind of like the 10 commandments or something. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not.
Yeah, except for in that situation, it's like if you don't do the thing, you go to hell.
Oh, you're going to hell. You're not going. Do you go anywhere bad if you don't do these things?
Oh.
You're just not practicing.
You just don't receive the benefits of yoga.
Yeah.
Right.
Get something else. Like,
or maybe you do. Maybe like.
I imagine hell is like behaving that way and the world kind of subtly giving you the feedback of all of that.
Probably so. Yeah.
It's a world where community members don't trust you and, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between the dogma of religion and
Western and they approached it differently. There was no hell. There wasn't any hell that you went to if you didn't do these things.
No.
Niyamas is how you behave internally, and that was cleanliness, truthfulness, contentment. Yeah. And then the third one was asana, and that's posture. And that's at the end of all of the words that we say in yoga, right? There's always asanas at the end of them.
Yeah, the seat or the posture.
Utkatasana.
Exactly. And I think like, you know, thousands of years ago, if we're looking at like when these ideas were recorded, the idea was like you do, and there weren't nearly as many postures, of course, back then as there are now, but
we've been making new ones.
Oh yeah, all the time.
That's cool. So you could make one? You'd be like, now I can make my own
so every
posture?
once in a while I'll do something and I'll say like, I'm sure I didn't make this up. Like there had to have been a point where I did it and I don't remember, or like I was influenced by someone, or, you know, I'm sure every movement has been done.
That'd be so cool to add a movement to yoga. Like, I added a movement.
But the purpose was to be able to sit, right? If you want to sit still for 8 hours or however long, like it's going to hurt your body.
Yeah.
It's pretty painful.
I know that. Yeah. Did it start with the sun salutation? Is that the first ones? I did a little bit of research in my life, and it seemed like those, it always like talked about that.
Those came later.
Came later?
I believe.
Okay.
Not certain, but I'm pretty sure those came later.
Oh, man. Then pranayama, which is breath, fluctuations of the breath. The turn away from senses was pratyahara. Yeah. Dharana, one-pointed concentration. Dhyana, meditation, and samadhi is the absorption. That's cool. That's the 8 limbs. Really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's something that I like. You asked me like, what do you get excited about? And I was like, yoga philosophy. Like I always come back to it. Like the last like course that I took was on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which I've taken many courses on.
Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. What is that? Are these Patanjali's Yoga Sutras?
Those are in the yoga. I can't tell you without looking at the text or, you know, Googling it. Like I want to say those are in the second part of the second chapter, but I'm not sure. But that's in the text.
Is that like the Bible for yoga? Is that?
I mean, you could call it like a.
I should stop doing that. I want to make everything a Western comparable. Like, oh, is this what we have over here? I don't really know
the Bible, but I mean, But
is it a book?
What I know of the Bible, it's stories, right? Yeah. This is not stories.
It's not.
No.
It's very like instructional.
Sutra means thread.
Thread. Sutra.
Sutra. Yeah. So it's like aphorisms that are sort of threaded together to guide you through the yoga practice.
And Patanjali's, what is Patanjali's?
Patanjali is the author.
Okay, this is a person.
But maybe not.
Maybe a collection of people.
Or like some people say he was like some sort of like, I don't remember the mythology behind it, but some sort of like creature. You know, I don't really know. Nobody knows exactly who Patanjali was. It could have been a person. There is like an iconography of what he looked like.
A creature. Why do I think of reptiles? When someone says creature, I think like he was like a dragon.
More of like a person type creature.
Oh yeah, person creature. Okay, yeah, he was a. But when you say creature, maybe like there's a spiritual aspect of him as opposed to a human. He was like a.
Sure. Yeah, like an extraordinary type of being.
Yeah. Patanjali.
I mean, we can't know. You know, it's like who wrote the Bible? I mean, no one, right? These are stories that were passed on. It's the same sort of thing, you know.
Because this all happened when they weren't writing books.
Right, exactly.
So they passed a bunch of stories down to people that passed a bunch of stories down. You remember playing telephone when we were kids?
Absolutely.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Played it recently.
You did?
Yeah.
Who knows what these stories are like at the beginning?
Right.
Okay. 8 limbs. If I wanted to get more familiar with the philosophy of yoga, what would you recommend? Like, how would I go about doing it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like, you know, this isn't like the study of these kinds of texts isn't something that people used to do, right? It's like people in like Indian communities wouldn't like sit around and talk about this kind of stuff necessarily. It was like a very specific kind of inquiry or I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. Try to answer your question.
Is it stuff they do in monasteries, or I don't know that.
Well, there are like an ashram. Yeah. Maybe. I did live in an ashram briefly, but I have like a pretty limited experience of what that might be. We did study a text though.
You did?
Yeah.
And it was this stuff?
It wasn't that one.
No.
No, it was the Samkhya Karika, which is, I think, a non-dual perspective. This is more of a dual perspective.
Oh, yeah, because if there's external and internal, there's duality.
Right. It's the idea that you're separate
Right.
from God.
Right.
And then
non-dual is we're all God.
You're already there. Yeah.
It's like we are waves on an ocean, and we're just an expression of God or universal oneness.
Right.
I like that. I like that universal oneness thing. And sometimes it seems so not true, you know? I seem so different from everybody, or so confused at how we're one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are times where it does feel like some of us are so incredibly different from others, for sure.
Yeah.
Also, I think the communities that I am immersed in or involved in makes it so that I'm kind of sheltered. You know, I don't really get outside of my communities. And then when I do, I'm always kind of shocked. You know?
These people living this way?
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God. And then you run back to your communities, your safe places.
Right.
That makes sense. You find comfort there. What other questions? So what does success look like? How does someone successfully move through a yoga philosophy practice?
I think curiosity is really the key to that. Like to just stay curious about whatever it is that you're learning or studying. I think that's success. Like if you think you know the answer, then you don't, you know, that's not, I think the success is like to continue questioning and
just continue to learn.
Yeah.
Because I've done yoga for a long time in varying degrees of seriousness, but never really serious. I never learned these, but it seems like all these things you said, there were breadcrumbs from teachers where they would say these words and I would never go look them up. Pranayama, I've heard tons. I think all of these, most of them I've heard. So it's almost like we're getting these, like I said, breadcrumbs, or these like, hey, if you want to know more, I'm saying interesting, different things for you to go check out.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many resources available, whether it be, you know, virtually or through books. Any of the Yoga Sutra translations have commentary, because you can't just like read the Yoga Sutra.
You can.
I mean, you can, but it's just like, paradoxically, it's so much in such a small few words, but like those words are just so profound. So whoever translates the text also writes a commentary.
Like this is because we're not in the context of which they were written.
Right.
You know, so much of translation comes through cultural context and a lot of stuff, and we're divorced from a lot of that stuff. I mean, these things were written,
thousands of years ago.
Yeah. And who knows, how did people even live back then? They didn't have cell phones.
I mean, we didn't have cell phones when we were younger.
No, we didn't. They had like pagers. Oh, I had to use the one house phone with the curly.
Oh yeah.
And I would like sneak down the hallway just to get some privacy. Yes.
Is the payphone?
The payphone.
Collect call.
I remember those. Collect call. Goodness, we didn't even have those. Imagine what they didn't have back then. They didn't have lights.
Right.
Electricity. That's a whole different world they're living in.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, I think it's important to consider the context of like a living tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't really practice the way that it's being recommended in some of these texts because of exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or you can by removing yourself from society, but you're most likely not going to do that your whole life unless you're going to live in an ashram or a monastery or whatever the case may be, you
Or
know.
you're gonna go live in a cave
Right.
somewhere.
Exactly.
People do that, or they did do that.
I definitely did.
It seems like that'd be too lonely in a cave. I wouldn't like
It'd
that.
be lonely, but you get to see God, right?
You get to see God.
That's the trade-off.
You get to see God. Yeah, I wonder. Hmm.
But I don't think you have to go live in a cave to see
I'm
God.
not gonna do that. I got them kids. I love them.
Yeah.
I want to hang out with them. I don't want to leave them. And I love people. It's got to be hard to remove yourself from the world and devote yourself to that full time. Because that's like that removing turning away from senses. You're
Mm-hmm.
really doing more than that. You're like turning away from culture.
Yeah. Minimal food, you know.
I've been doing that recently. I've been doing fasting stuff.
How's that going for you?
I normally don't eat on Mondays,
Oh, wow.
which is today. But I thought, but since I'm working, I'm doing all these filming things, I would eat. But I might not. I do 42 hours fast from Sunday night to Tuesday around 2. It's okay.
That's impressive.
It's okay.
I love to eat.
We all love to eat, Karlie. You're not unique in that. The only thing that gets me through, or one of the things that gets me through, is whenever I'm feeling hungry or I want to eat, I'll just go research all the benefits of fasting.
Have you had a fasting expert on your show?
It's funny you would mention that. I've got a functional registered dietitian coming on Wednesday.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna talk to, but I have done a lot of research and stuff. Anyway, we digress. Let's see. What's another question? What excites you most about the philosophy of yoga? Like what gets your attention? Do you go to one area or another often?
Um, I'm not sure if I go to one area or another often. Yeah, I guess sometimes I just get curious about certain things. And like I was saying, like staying open, like curiosity will come and I'll kind of follow that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll just like kind of see what sort of resources might be available, right, to further study and see what's interesting within that. Um, but I think what excites me is that it's just endless.
It's endless.
Yeah, it's just there's so much to learn and to know and to explore and yeah, I can do that as long as I want to for this whole lifetime and the next one.
Yeah, there's plenty. You know, like music. You can only
Yes.
start a music practice. You can start learning it, and it's infinite.
Right. Yeah.
There's no end. I like that. Kind of like for a contemporary example would be like when you stumble upon Seinfeld and there's like tons of episodes, but that ends.
Yeah, that definitely
Or
ends.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers is so good.
It's so good. I've watched the whole thing numerous times. It's almost like a ritual now in my life. I do it every 4 or 5 years.
I love Seinfeld too, but I didn't watch the whole thing, but about a year ago, I started watching Cheers from the pilot, and I was just so impressed.
Yeah, when Coach dies and Woody Harrelson takes his place.
I didn't get that far, but I remember that IRL. I remember when that actually happened.
Yeah. Cheers is a good show. Yeah, when Diane leaves and we get the
Kirstie Alley.
Kirstie Alley.
Not the same.
You said it a certain way. You said Kirstie Alley a certain with contempt.
I mean, I feel like that's when the show was like fizzling out.
It was fizzling out. It was fizzling out. Yeah, so the vastness, this like it's a never ending learning experience.
That helps further my growth and development as a human.
Yeah.
And it helps me serve people that are in my classes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I get both benefits. Like I'm helping my own growth and practice, and then I get to help those that are in the yoga room as well.
Yeah. What kind of benefits have you seen over 26 years
For
of
myself?
practicing? Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you yell at people in traffic inside of your car?
no.
You don't? Have you ever?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Probably.
Probably.
I definitely have honked.
You've honked?
Yeah.
But like a beep or like a beep?
That one.
You done the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the bad one.
Oh, I did yell at someone. Yeah, I had to think really hard. It was, yeah, like,
Would you have cuss words? Were there
yeah,
cuss words?
this was like,
Oh, you went full.
this was like either before I started practicing yoga
Uh-huh.
or like right around the start of, so.
But
I
not
would say,
since
like,
then.
No, not since then.
Nope. And have you done the long honk since then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember though rolling down my window and yelling at someone with expletives. It was probably before I started practicing yoga.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
F word?
Yeah.
You said the F word? Not cool, y'all. That would not follow probably one of the external, on the yamas.
Yeah. Probably
Yamas probably frown upon that behavior.
I would say that's himsa. That's harming.
Probably himsa. That person probably felt a little something. Okay, what are the benefits that you've experienced? No cessation of long honks, but otherwise.
I mean, those are far and few between.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I think patience, that's what that made me think of. Like driving in traffic in a city requires a lot of patience. And I think I've seen my patience in general grow. But there are things in life that sort of like shake up your growth. Like you grow to a certain point and then there's like a new season of your life where you have to kind of start over again.
Yeah.
I know I've watched a little bit of Mary's episode and I know she mentioned this, but like once you have kids, like, you know, like I had felt like I had grown so much and then I had a kid and it's like that box of growth that had collected just got dumped out. You know, it's just like, oh, and now I'm like a monster and I have to start all over again with my growth. You know?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I call my kids my little Buddhas. They're just my teachers.
Yeah.
I had to almost reparent myself in order to parent them in a healthy way.
Of course. Yeah. There's so much opportunity for learning and growth in that way, but you don't really realize how much you need to be reparented until you're in that situation.
Until you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're like doing your parents' way. Normally, well, for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, in moments of overwhelm, I find myself continuing a cycle of violence.
Yes. Yeah.
Just to be very blunt about it.
Same.
And then it's like, whoa, wait a second, where the heck?
Yeah. And so it's like, you know, I've seen all these benefits and then I had a kid and I just like, you know, sometimes can't keep my composure at all. And I'm like, what happened?
What happened?
And I mean, I understand it like on a scientific level, what's going on, but yeah, that's where you have to start all over again.
Start all over again.
Begin again.
Beginner's mind. Yeah, begin again. You have to remember. Remind yourself. I like that. Let's see. Any questions that I should ask you about philosophy of yoga?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I'm excited about philosophy of yoga. It's exciting. This discussion is kind of like, it's given me little glimpses into stuff that I'm interested in, ways of living, and I like those things. I like that when I explored Buddhism, which I still do. Mm-hmm. It seems like this is another way to explore. It's like another ray pointing towards the same sun.
Yeah.
You know?
All roads lead to the same, or all paths lead to the same mountain.
And I need that. I need different people saying the same thing.
I think we all do.
Yeah. So that I can finally get it. Or get closer to it.
Yeah. Closer.
Yeah.
Closer is good.
Yeah, will we ever really know what it's like to be on the moon? But we can look at it a bunch. We can even get a a telescope and look at it with higher fidelity, closer up. But will we ever really know what it's like to be there? Probably not.
No.
Unless Elon gets all that stuff together and we make $1 billion and then we ride up there in the rocket ship, which I don't think I would do.
I wouldn't do it.
I don't think I'd do
for
that.
various reasons.
I mean,
including not giving him my money.
Well, there'd be somebody else doing it by
Okay.
then, but you'd give your money to some other, D-bag.
Yeah.
No offense, Elon fans out there, but anyway, I'm letting my politics be known in here. Let's see. Okay, I think that's 5 questions. What do you think?
I didn't count, but it feels like it was 5 questions.
It's like a loose 5.
I have the 5 questions sensor.
Yeah, you
going
feel
off.
completed.
Yeah.
Of 5. I'm excited about that. Okay, so now what we do is we play a little game before we talk life story stuff. Oh, one thing I want to talk about is what's the difference between Hatha yoga, Vin yoga, Vinyasa? I go to yoga classes all the time and they have a different title and I just think we're still doing downward dog.
Well, you wouldn't do downward dog in a yin class.
We wouldn't.
No.
Okay, well maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, so yin, for example, is all based on the ground.
Ooh, it's a ground practice.
Yeah, so everything is on the ground. And everything it's likely supported with some sort of prop,
Props
not
and stuff?
necessarily, but
So there'll be bolsters, there'll be
Yeah.
yoga blocks, there'll be, yeah.
and the poses are held for a longer period of time.
Okay.
So, for example, in a vinyasa practice, you're moving with the breath, right? As we talked about a bit before. And so it might be like, inhale, lift your arms, exhale, turn this way, or whatever. And so you're moving relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in yin, you're not moving. You're just in the pose.
Okay.
And
On the ground.
yeah.
So yin is more, there's like a stretching aspect or like sitting in the postures.
Yeah, it's kind of a connective tissue, like release and, easier on the joints.
Mhm.
Maybe, right, depending on how one's body is.
Yeah. And then vinyasa, you're flowing through and you're doing faster, you're matching breath to movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hatha.
Hatha is, they're also longer held poses as opposed to moving with the breath, but they're more of the classical postures, which you see in a vinyasa practice as well.
Mhm.
But the difference between hatha and vinyasa, like the postures might not be different necessarily, but a hatha class is not going to flow with the breath.
When they say a flow, that's what they're talking about, the breath matching the movement.
Yeah, which is right now culturally in the United States, and this has been for many years now, is kind of what people think of when they think of yoga, is a flow practice.
Okay. What does hatha mean? Like, is that a whole section or a whole practice or something?
I am not sure of the translation. I know a lot of people say like sun moon, hatha, sun moon, but I don't think that's accurate. Meaning like it's a balanced practice. I'm not totally sure what
Okay.
the translation is. But it is like, I think of it as sort of just like the basic, it doesn't have to be basic, but just like the basic postures that are taught and again, like held for longer periods of time, not like, inhale, lift your arms, exhale, fold forward, step back, whatever. It's like you're in the pose.
For multiple breaths.
Right.
And does it incorporate the more extreme, or extreme might not be the right word for it, but the more advanced or more difficult moves?
It can. I mean, at our studio, no, but I've definitely taught hatha classes that do.
Really?
Yeah.
What you mentioned a couple. Iyengar.
Oh, Iyengar.
Iyengar. What is that? Are these just like whether it's a person that like
yes,
like Bikram?
Yes,
or...
exactly. Yeah. So BKS Iyengar was the teacher who developed this style of yoga,
Mm-hmm.
which is a hatha yoga practice.
Okay.
But what made it different is that he started utilizing yoga props to help people experience the postures and stay in them for longer periods of time.
That's where we started getting the bolsters and the
Yeah,
yoga blocks and all that stuff
exactly.
to bring the ground closer to our limbs.
Yes.
Thank you,
And
Iyengar.
he's written a lot of books, but he wrote a book called Light on Yoga that was really important. Like, now there's so many books on asana, but at one point in time, that was like, one of the only books about yoga postures.
Really? What about Anusari?
Anusara yoga, I mean, technically it still exists. I'm not going to get into the story, but there was like
it's another guy or a girl or somebody
there was somebody,
this?
Not anymore. It's like I said, it still exists and he's not involved.
Yeah.
But there was someone who developed this style of yoga, a little more modern. And it was more of like, again, through the lens of Kashmir Shaivism. So that philosophy, that perspective of like Shiva and Shakti. And also based on alignment. So Iyengar yoga is an alignment-based practice. And so is Anusara yoga, but Anusara yoga was more about like moving from the heart and being like a heart-centered practice. But again, without getting into it, there was like a scandal that happened.
Scandal.
Yeah,
it happens. What's the opposite of an alignment practice?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't think there's an opposite. I think it's just like you can focus on it or you cannot focus on it.
Okay.
Like that can be one of your main sort of touchstones for the way that you're teaching, right? Or not.
And alignment means your body's realizing certain shapes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some people think like, and some people say this to me, like if they come to my class and be like, I want to know how to do the pose correctly.
Yeah.
But to me, like that's not what an alignment practice is about. I mean, maybe someone else would say something differently, because to a degree it is like you put your foot here, your left foot here, you put your right foot here and your right arm here, and you do this with your left arm, right? To a degree that is what you're doing or what I'm teaching, because I do teach alignment-based practices still. But to me, it's more about the alignment is in service of the expression, right, of the body and the experience of the body. Right? It's not to do a pose correctly. It's to express the body. And, maybe if there's some guidance in how to do that, that's going to help you a little bit more.
2 things, and then we'll play improv games. Number 1, gosh, it's got to be hard to be a yoga teacher because you're providing instructions all the time and trying to find the exact words that get folks to move their body in a certain way. It's got to be challenging and something that you learn and grow with over time. Standing and just getting people to move their body. It's like extreme instruction. You know what I mean? Like think about IKEA, like the instructions for how you make a dresser, but you're getting folks into all kind of different shapes and forms and using as few words, it's like a sentence, and then they're like doing some weird stuff with their body. And was that challenging to learn?
Definitely. I often will reflect back to when I was a new teacher, and part of me feels bad for those people that were in my classes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you had such a terrible experience. I mean, I think some of them didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But in some cases, I know they did. And
yeah.
Just sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, you had to learn. You had to fail and grow.
I definitely failed and grew.
And it's almost like you're looking at the direct, like the response of your instructions.
Yeah.
And so the feedback is immediate.
Yeah.
Like, why are y'all doing all that?
When you're a new teacher, though, that's really hard to process because you're thinking about so many things. I mean, now, yes, that's exactly what happens. And it's great.
As a seasoned teacher.
Yeah. Because I say something, I see the result and
Like, oh, I
I'm
need to
like,
fine tune that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll say like, oh, take your fingers towards the front of the room.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, now everybody.
That
So it was a
stuff
train
helps.
wreck. I'm like, try this.
Yeah.
Now everybody gets it.
Yeah. And then the second thing is, when I was growing up, I had a hard time with my left and my right. I just really hard. And I remember someone taught me this. I'd have to do this, and that makes an L. And so this is the left side of my body. And I think I still have echoes of that challenge with left and right. And yoga is, I think, one of my challenges. I have fear when someone's like, take your left foot. I'm like, oh my God, can I do this right? I look around. Is someone else doing this right?
I've never heard anyone say that before. I bet a lot of people feel that way.
I just
but
don't
I've
want
never heard anyone say it before.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like left-right challenges. I just want to do it the right way, and the way everybody else is doing it. And gosh,
it happens a lot, though.
I'm directionally challenged.
Where people it happens a lot.
That's why we find acceptance.
And I usually just say,
to the other side.
Yeah. Like
whichever side you did.
Yeah, and I'll say
if
you're on the different side from us, just do the other side.
Yeah. Oh man, I was gonna say something like it's my own personal little hell, like because every time you're just like there's a little nervousness, like which one is it? And it's like a test. You can't. It's just left and right.
Well, no one's thinking that except you.
I'm the only one thinking that. I need to like drop that.
I'm definitely not thinking that because I just want you to do whatever you need to do. And if you get it wrong, I don't care. And then everybody else is too busy focusing on their own shit to know.
I think next level teachers, I'm just going to say this blanket statement, I don't know if it's true or not, are able to say the right or left and reverse it in their mind because they're doing the one that they see. Yes. Yeah. That's got to be
not everyone at our studio does that, but a lot of us do.
That's got to be hard.
It's just like anything else. It's practice.
You just practice it.
Yeah. It was hard, but it's not.
Now it's easy.
Yeah.
Because you're left and right master.
I'm not. I get left and right wrong a lot. And sometimes I'll say like, guys, my brain can't do left and right now, so I'm not mirroring you. Like sometimes I just have to turn it off.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That's Phil Phails 5 questions. We did them.
Great.
I get to put this down. I don't really use it that much. I wrote some stuff though. And we could play a game for a minute. Ooh, there's some tea. What improv game? So Karlie is an improviser, just like myself.
Yeah, I did a lot of improv. I was involved in the improv community for a long time, but as I mentioned, having a kid kind of shook my whole life up, and so I haven't done anything.
How did it impact
years.
your improv?
I just don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the resources.
Were you part of a troupe?
A few. Here and there. Well, one main one. I think they're still performing. They used to ask me to perform.
I've never trouped.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, I was part of a troupe called Escándalo.
Ooh, Escándalo. Okay. Here in Austin?
Yeah.
What theater were you a part of?
We were based out of the Hideout Theater.
Oh, get the Hideout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Our practice that I came up with is Best Friends and Belly Laughs, and we would perform for ourselves, but we never went and performed at theaters or anything. So it was never...
So you didn't get the audience interaction. That's the best part.
I want that. Well, we would get an interaction with other people at the class.
Sure.
But that's one thing I want to explore as I, continue with this is finding a way to have that experience. Because I've had like 6-7 years of improv, but never done it in front of an audience. Never done that whole thing. So I think I'm missing a very key component to it.
Well, yeah, because that's part of the inspiration is like you're getting feedback and therefore or you have at least some sort of inspiration of what to do next.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a game we used to play where someone would leave the room and we would all decide, okay, what kind of shape do we want? What do we want this person
Dolphin
to do?
training.
Dolphin training. And that reminded me of in performing, like you're looking for what's exciting the audience, and that's their That's their claps or their dolphin sounds. And then you follow those. You give them
Exactly.
more of that so that you heighten in a way that works.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I want to do that. I've only done it in the context of those groups, which sometimes there'd be big groups. Sometimes we'd have a good audience there, but never like just normal people. You know?
Yeah, people that don't have a background in improv.
So one day, maybe I'll get you in on it. We'll do this with the show. We'll go do an improv thing.
I haven't done improv in so long.
It's inside of you. It's inside of you.
It
Well, you're
is.
going to do it right now. We're going to play some warm-up games. Let's see. We can do, I mentioned them. We could do sound ball. We could do mind meld or convergence. You know the song? We got a mind meld.
Oh, yeah. That's a different. Yeah, it's the same game, but different like
game.
variations. Yeah.
We could do 1, 2, 3, which is hard for me because of the memory aspects of it.
I don't know if I know 1, 2, 3.
Okay. We could do mirror cat.
And I don't remember Meerkat. I've done it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah. Which one you want to do? Or we could do one that you want to do. You haven't been doing improv in a while. Maybe you had a favorite.
I always really liked Convergence a lot.
Okay. Let's do convergence.
But clarify how you play.
Well,
there's different
normally we would play in a group of people, and one person would say 1 and one person would say 2, and then they'd come to the middle, and then we'd count to 3 and they'd say the word at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the beginning. So we'd get like these 2 words, and then everybody'd kind of think about those 2 words and kind of find what would join them.
Okay, but I'm with you on that. And then you do the mind meld dance.
We do the mind meld when it happens.
Okay, because that's not how I played, but I remember because I have played that way before. So.
Just the dance?
Without the dance. But I have played with the dance also.
Yeah. You don't have to do the dance. But we would do that. It would be fun doing the dance. Yeah. Okay.
Wait, should we tell the audience what we're trying to do?
Heck yeah, tell them. Tell them in there.
All right. So we're trying to get connected, right? So if we can come up with the same idea at the same time without, obviously the other person doesn't know that, then that is showing that we're starting to mind meld or converge into like one mind.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of an exercise of attunement.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't jinx us. I should not jinx us here, but we're of a similar age, so we have a ton of references. So theoretically, it'd be easier for us.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so it starts out with like 2 blank minds that pull some word out of the void to begin it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, cat.
Sorry.
You didn't
I thought
say
we were going to
a
go
word.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Well,
so we
let's
do 1,
Let's
2,
do
3
it
at
your
the
way.
same time.
So we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then we say it.
Okay.
I can't say cat anymore.
Yeah.
I looked at that cat and I thought of that.
1,
2,
1, 2, 3.
apple.
Window.
Apple and window.
Okay.
Oh, apple and window. Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
1,
2,
1, 2, 3. Computer.
Computer.
What? We got a mind
Convergence.
meld. We got a mind meld. We got a mind meld.
We did it right away.
That is pretty good. But we did say apple and window.
And then
that's computer. Y'all.
yeah, that's kind of obvious.
That's obvious. That's impressive. Okay, let's try it again. That was too soon.
Right.
Okay, let me think of something. Okay, I got something. 1,
2,
1, 2, 3. Dolphin.
stripes.
Dolphin stripes.
All
Dolphin
right.
stripes. Dolphin stripes.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Oh man.
You got to think of. You had to do it quickly. So
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Into
Okay, I'm just gonna say what came to my mind.
Okay. 1,
2, 1, 2, 3. Florida.
Clownfish.
Florida clownfish.
I have a feeling
Florida
we're gonna
clownfish.
Start moving further away.
Yeah,
Let's see.
yeah. How do we get clownfish is good. That's a good one. Now that I think about it. Did they have stripes?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever do scuba diving?
I don't like that idea of scuba diving. It scares me.
It
I did a
scares
lot
you.
of snorkeling at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was enough for me.
Yeah.
Like, even that was kind of like, it just feels a little bit disorienting.
Yeah.
But I can come right back up. So
Yeah, you can get right back up. Your head's literally it's like right there. I did scuba diving.
That's
It's kind
cool.
of fun. I remember one time I did a night dive. I was off the coast of Honduras on an island on the Roatan Islands there. Utila was the one I was on, and it was a night dive because I was getting my certification stuff for Patty. And I looked up, and there was a freaking barracuda. This gnarly looking, like, it's just a beast of a fish, just looking real mean. And I just turned back, like, ooh, just pretend it wasn't there.
That's scary.
It was scary. Because I've heard stories that they'll see, like, the shimmer on your goggles and, like, attack it.
Yikes.
I wasn't attacked by the barracuda.
That's good.
I like that song, Barracuda, though.
Me too.
Barracuda. Okay, we got Florida. I'm stalling because I don't know what the heck unifies clownfish in Florida.
I don't think anything does. We're just going to have to go for it.
Okay, 1,
2.
1, 2, 3, football. Football and flip-flops?
I got one.
You got one?
Mm-hmm.
Football and flip-flops. Okay. 1,
2.
1, 2, 3,
frat
fish.
boy.
Fish and frat boy. Ooh, fish and frat boy.
Yeah, that's tough. Okay,
Fish,
I don't know.
Fish and frat boy. I don't know. I've said that like it should.
All right,
send
yeah, I'm gonna go for it.
Okay.
1,
2, 1, 2, 3, festival.
concert.
Ooh, we're close.
So
festival,
close.
concert. We're close.
1,
2,
1, 2, 3, music.
I couldn't even say anything. Oh, God. We're blessed with convergence right out of the gate.
Yep.
Right out of the gate. So y'all saw what it looks like in the
It happened.
It happened. We converged. Okay, we'll try one more time. Sometimes you don't converge.
It's true.
But you can keep going for that convergence.
I mean, we're not getting on stage together, so
not yet.
It's low pressure.
Not yet, Karlie. This is stage, though. We are actually
yes, we are on stage at the moment. But
goodness. Okay, so the last thing we said was music and nothing.
Festival.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, right.
You had said concert and
That's
festival, and I had a brain stall.
Mm-hmm.
Because you said music, and I said, oh, wow.
All right, I guess it's those two things then.
Music and okay, yeah, that's what it is. So, let me make sure I got one this time. It would be music and is okay. 1,
2,
1, 2, 3, chaos.
Yodel.
Chaos and yodel. Chaos yodel. That's like a new genre of music, I think. We need this chaos yodel. Can you just see it? It's
Is it? Maybe it exists.
Maybe it already
don't
exists.
know.
If you're a musician performing chaos yodel, let us know. Send us your videos.
For sure. I want to see that.
It's like a heavy metal Yoda.
Yeah, that's what I was
in my
thinking
mind.
too.
I was thinking that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we should have just done the mind meld on that one. Chaos Yodel. Okay, Chaos Yodel. 1,
2,
1, 2, 3. Bluegrass. Bluegrass and noise. Okay, this one's obvious. 1,
2,
1, 2, 3. Banjo. What? We got a mind melt. We got a mind melt. We got a mind melt. We got it.
Yeah, I thought fiddle. That was my first, and I was like, he's gonna say banjo.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Banjo.
We did it.
Okay, one more game.
All right.
Of those ones, which ones do you like?
I don't remember Meerkat. Like, I don't remember how to play it, so I'm open
I can explain it so you can see
I'm
whether or not
open
you
to
want to do it or
read.
not. It's like where one person acts and the other person
that's
mirrors
right.
it.
I don't like that game.
And then well, let's not play that one. Sound Ball's a
Sound Ball's-
classic.
yeah, it's fine.
1, 2, 3 is the one where I go 1, you go 2, and I go 3, and then you go 1, and then I go 2, and then you go 3, and then I go meow, and you go 2, and I go 3, and then you go meow, and like, so we change the
right.
placeholder for the thing over time. The memory part of that sometimes really
That's challenging for
grinds
sure.
my brain.
Yeah. I feel like I need to be like on my feet and more focused.
Yeah.
So sound ball's fine.
That's easy. You know how to play sound ball?
I think if I remember.
Sound ball is a game. Oh, these are warm-up games for improv. They're designed to relax folks, get them being creative and playful, but also find an attunement. They're like ways to demonstrate the yes and.
Mm-hmm.
And I read the book, or I followed the Upright Citizens Brigade Improv Handbook, and it talks about the focus of the games. And this focus of the game is the sound ball. It's a sound and a gesture. Well, I have it now, but I'll pass it. And it has a sound with my mouth and a gesture with my body. And that's the start of it. And Karlie will say yes to that by mirroring that sound and the gesture. You'll mimic it. You'll do the exact same sound and exact same gesture. And you'll say and by coming up with your own sound and gesture and sending it back to me. And then we'll do that over and over again.
Okay.
It's called sound ball. Is that how y'all played it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. I like how you do it, Karlie. Not everybody does it. It's like a conversation of sound. Like yours happens at the end of mine, and I'm doing it. I like that.
I think that's how I learned to play it.
No,
but I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's.
I don't think there's a right or wrong way to play it. I just love that. I've never thought of that because it's like there's no separation between my expression and yours. They marry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really cool. The one thing I like to talk to folks about when we play this game is how expressions have qualities. Like they'll have almost an emotional component. Like they can be happy, they can be sad, they can be energetic, they can be calm. Mm-hmm. Like kind of when you did I did the explosion, and then you did like kind of it was like bringing it all together. And so I just invite folks to think about that as we do it and maybe make choices around that. Small, big emotions. You know, there's 2 things you could do. I'm sure there's more than 2, but there's like the idea of heightening or exploration. They're different things. Okay, is it my turn or your turn?
I did this one, but I forgot what sound I made.
It was like, I think something like that. Okay, I'm gonna go. There's also another thing I love when I'm playing with you is like we're building that world. There's a relationship between each one.
My mind started to create a story.
Yes.
And I was like not sure whether to follow the story or just keep playing the game.
I think following the story can be part of playing the game. I love it because we're inviting in some like scene work where we're saying like, oh, what happens when someone goes to sleep and then wakes up? And then like all of that I think is a more advanced play because we're saying what's here with us? What are you saying? How can I continue that conversation?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's fun.
You're obviously an expert improviser, Karlie.
I'm not an expert, but I do have a lot of experience. There is that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Super fun.
You should get back into, well, I guess you just did get back into improv, but I think improv is a spiritual practice,
I do too.
a mindfulness practice.
People who are like really into it, like fully drinking the Kool-Aid, I think like it is their spiritual practice.
Yeah. It's like their 8 branches are like Second City and yeah. Yeah, I love it. Okay, I'm going to potty. If you've got a potty, now would be the time, and then we'll talk about your life story.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need anything?
No, I'll go to the restroom after you.
Okay. Oh, stretch my legs too. Yeah. Stretch those legs. Stretch those legs. Yeah. How you feeling now, Karlie?
Way more relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel great.
Yeah. Playing games will do that.
For sure.
Just...
out of your head and into your heart.
And body. When you said that stuff about being in your body a bunch, I was really curious because I think I've been in my mind most of my life.
I think that's common.
Yeah. And a part of my seeking has been returning to my body or having a greater comfort in my body, awareness of my body. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes people will come to class and I will check in with them, how's your day going? Or, is there anything you want to work on today? And I'm just having a recent memory of someone saying, oh, I've just been sitting in front of a computer and I need to move away from that. And I said, get into your body. And he was like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to talk about your life story, Karlie's life story. And we begin those with kind of the beginning where you were born.
I was born in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Ooh, Corpus Christi.
And I was raised there as well.
You were. Corpus Christi, Texas, for everybody, is on the Gulf of Mexico.
It is. Yeah, I was a beach girl for many years. I think I've lived here so long that I would no longer identify that way, but...
You were a beach girl?
Mm-hmm.
What does a beach girl do? What is that?
Hangs out at the beach.
You just at the beach. You like sunning, tanning?
Well, I after I moved here, I had a really hard time with being landlocked.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up moving back to the Pacific Coast for a couple of years. And then moved back here and I've been here ever since. So no longer really identify with that part of myself. Or, I mean, of course I do, but, I don't think of myself as like a beach person anymore. But for a long time, that was like a big part of my world.
My relationship to Corpus Christi is pretty regularly I'll go and camp out on the Padre Island National Seashore, which is you just drive to Corpus Christi and then you take a right when the land stops.
I've never actually done that. I've never actually slept, camped.
Really?
Well, I have, but not in Corpus.
Okay. What kind of family were you born into? How many siblings? What was it like?
I'm an only child.
Okay.
Which, I don't know. Some people love being an only child. I didn't necessarily love it. And then I never necessarily wanted to have kids, but then I said, like, if I do have kids, I'm not going to have only one because I don't want my kid to have the only child experience. And guess what? I have an only child.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just me and my parents, and my parents eventually got divorced, and then it was me and my mom.
How old were you when they got divorced?
They separated when I was around 10, so that like between 10 and 11 was when my dad left, and then around like 11, 12, they were, formally divorced.
Did you have any memories of before the divorce?
Oh, yeah.
What was it like?
I mean, I think I have all kinds of memories, like both good and bad. I think like my parents really tried to give me a really great childhood. And for the most part, I think they did a good job with like the resources that they had. But also, I think that my parents were not really co-parenting. Like they were just sort of each parenting from their own um, perspective and like whatever uh, patterns they had received growing up.
Yeah.
And um, that was hard.
Yeah. Do you have an idea, or can you talk about the different patterns? Like what did it look like?
Well, my mom was like, she wasn't fully permissive by any means, but she was like kind of leaning that direction because it was like she didn't always like, she would like set a boundary, but she didn't always hold it type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas like with my daughter, like we're not moving that boundary. Sorry, kid.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what. And then my dad was kind of the opposite, like more authoritarian.
Mm-hmm.
So that just felt confusing. And I think I developed some insecurity around kind of the way that evolved.
Yeah. Your mom would set boundaries that were easy for you to cross, and your dad was like a disciplinarian,
Yes.
authoritarian, and they were probably I could see that those being at odds.
Yeah. So that was kind of hard. And also, I feel like I had a pretty happy, healthy childhood at the same time.
Yeah.
Both, you know.
Was there any kind of like violence or any kind of like what did discipline look like, or was there any trauma that you remember?
Yeah. I don't really want to talk about that, but yes.
There was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people had it. I did. What were times of love and fun and play look like when you were a kiddo with your family?
When I think about like when my parents were married and us being all together, it's really hard for me to remember having fun as a family. Like
Really?
I remember having fun by myself or with my friends or even my family, like my cousins,
Mm-hmm.
or my grandparents, but not so much my parents. I don't know why that is. Like I would like to think that the experiences that my daughter is having right now, she will remember as like, because we do a lot of things together as a family that I think are really fun. So I'm hoping that she'll reflect back to that as well. I mean, we must have, but I just, for whatever reason, I don't really have a lot of like fun family memories. Maybe it was because the divorce was really hard on me. And so maybe I just kind of forgot those times.
Yeah. Well, we have kind of a negativity bias as just humans in general. The bad things,
Right.
they're bigger in our mind and more memorable than the good things.
Yeah.
Were you lonely?
Yes. Yeah. Not a lot. But yeah, but I think, I mean, I haven't had this conversation with very many only children, but I think Holly's an only child as well. But um I see that in my daughter, the loneliness.
What's it look like? How do you see it?
She wants to play and we play with her, but obviously we're not going to play with her all the time. But even still, it's like even if we do, she doesn't want to play with us. She wants to play with a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see like, she'll act out or like something. And I think that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, wanting companionship.
Yes, that's a good way companionship is a good word. And I definitely felt that way as a little girl, like just kind of lonely. And
Is that why you wanted to have 2 kids?
well, I didn't really want to have kids.
Oh,
And
you
that's
didn't
how
have kids.
but I changed my mind. But then that's how I ended up with only one, because I had changed my mind. Then it was just kind of, that's how things unfolded. But yes, when I was like, if I decide to have kids, I'll have 2. That was why. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you identify when you were a kiddo? Like what kind of kiddo were you?
That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever really thought about that. I think I was probably pretty bright and energetic. And I think I was a little bit scared of my dad, and then maybe kind of like leaned into the unconditional love that my mom provided.
Yeah. Hmm. Did you feel, were you precocious? Did you like talk to people a bunch like other adults?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously there's a personality component,
Mm-hmm.
but again, I think that comes along with being an only child.
Oh, it is.
I mean, not if you don't have
Well,
the personality to go with it.
because you're
but
seeking connection
Right.
outside of the family dynamic.
yes, if you do have the personality that goes with it, then I think those things go hand in hand.
Yeah. Because you're longing for connection and communication and like interaction. So wherever it is, you're like a sponge,
Right.
soaking it
Exactly.
up. Goodness. Okay. What happened? What was it like after the divorce? You were with your mom?
I got really angry.
You did.
Yeah.
You felt anger.
Mm-hmm. But I was too young to even recognize that I was angry.
How did it express?
I mean, I was just kind of like moody, I think. And like sometimes, and this is something I didn't realize until I was like in my 30s, looking back. I think sometimes I would isolate myself. Like there would be social situations where I could go be with friends, but I wouldn't. I would hang out with my mom instead.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. Anxiety, probably.
Did you do drugs and alcohol?
Not at that point. Later I did, as
Later.
a young adult, but not as a kid.
No.
No, I was a pretty good kid.
You're a good kid.
I made good grades.
You made good grades?
Yeah.
You were quiet in class?
No, I got in trouble for talking a lot.
Tell me about it.
I don't think I had much self-control.
You didn't have a lot of self-control?
I don't think so.
Impulsive?
Maybe, I mean, I know what an impulsive child looks like, and I'm not sure. Maybe because of the discipline at home, I was suppressing some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that could be. Yeah, that could be. I hadn't really thought about it that way because I think of like the other behaviors that go along with impulsiveness. But as an adult, I have like almost no impulsive behaviors.
No.
Yeah.
None?
I mean, of course, but I'm just not an impulsive person.
You're not.
But for whatever reason, as a kid, I like could not stop talking.
You wanted to talk. Well, you wanted to talk.
Yeah.
You wanted connection. Oh.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. But the teachers probably didn't prefer it.
No, they did not.
No, they wanted you to stay on task.
Yeah.
We need you to be a good bean counter later on.
For sure.
Industry worker.
And I remember like in middle school, not all the time, but occasionally like doing like sort of like trying to entertain my classmates, like sort of like a stand-up bit.
Really?
Yeah. And then the teacher would come in and I would have to like shut it down. Or I would like keep trying to do it like from my seat and then I'd get in trouble.
You were a performer from a young age.
I am. Yeah. I've always been sort of a performer. I've never really been I've never really like pursued it to any large degree, but yeah, I've always performed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She made good grades. Did you go see the principal a bunch?
That wasn't really a thing, but I would get sent out of class.
Mm-hmm. Just get out of here.
Yeah. Get out of here with your disruptive behavior.
Get out of here. But you're goofing off.
Yeah.
Were you the class clown?
No.
Not the class clown.
No, I think I had moments of that, but no.
But mostly just class socializer.
Yeah.
It was a social component.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Like gossip? What were you getting into?
I don't know what I was talking about. I mean, what could a little kid have so much? I mean, I see it in my own kid, but I don't know.
Do you remember?
No. I really don't.
You were writing notes?
That was high school. So in high school, I eventually stopped talking to a degree, but then I started writing notes. Yeah.
Passing them notes.
Yeah. Which I think the teachers just ignored. I don't think they had any will to like stop it.
Because it didn't have it wasn't as.
It was quiet.
Yeah, it was quiet. It was quiet.
But I definitely sat at my high school desk, like writing an entire notebook paper page to my friends.
I remember my first album I ever purchased was the Beastie Boys' License to Ill.
Mm-hmm.
And I memorized that stuff. And I would sing it on the playground. I would do the whole thing. Paul Revere, whole thing. Did you do anything like that? I guess I had a little performer in me too.
No, I did used to write song lyrics down though. Like when a song would get stuck in my head, that was one of the ways that I would try to get the song out. as I would write out all the lyrics.
Mm-hmm. What songs?
I'm not sure. That was in high school, so who knows? It could have been anything. I do remember, for whatever reason, this just popped into my head, REM's Man in the Moon.
Oh, yeah.
I do remember writing that one
If
down.
you believe they put a man on the moon.
Man on the moon.
Yeah. That's a good song. I like REM. I still remember when that Time Out or We're Losing My Religion came out. That was good stuff.
Yeah, that was a good record.
Good record.
Sure.
Was it called Time Out?
No.
Something. REM fans, put it in the comments.
I can't remember, but not Time Out.
Yeah, it was something. But it was a good album. I thought REM was really good. Were you, what groups did you identify? Or were you like a chameleon?
I was a little bit, because I kind of ran with the like skateboard punk rock scene, but I danced.
Outcast.
But I was a dancer, so I was like with the other girls that danced, you know.
Dance? What was dance? Dance isn't cheerleaders though.
No, it's like performance, like dance.
Okay.
But I also hung out with like the kids. Well, there were boys who skateboarded. None of the girls skateboarded. I tried briefly and got hurt. And I was like, I don't want to get hurt.
No, you don't want to get hurt.
But there were only dudes that skateboarded. But the girl, well, some of me and my friends would hang out with them.
Those are kind of the outcasts, right?
Kind of. There was levels of outcasts at my high school.
Really?
I think I wouldn't say outcasts so much as like misfits.
Misfits.
Yeah.
Were the skateboard kids the misfits?
I think, yeah. I wouldn't say they were outcasts so much as misfits. Maybe a little bit outcast, but.
So you had a rebel streak.
Yeah.
You wanted to hang out with bad boys. It's like they roll around on little blocks of wood. They're bad boys. It's so silly when I think about it now. They're rolling around
on little blocks of wood.
They're rolling around on wood.
They're coming to school on off hours.
Oh
and
my
using
God.
the rails on the stairs.
Yeah, they're coming to school and exercising around the school when school's not in session. Bad boys. We got to crack down on that. We don't want to be having them at school exercising.
Doing something healthy.
Doing something healthy. Congregating. They might have smoked weed, though. Did they smoke weed?
Yeah, I didn't.
No,
it was around, and I just wasn't interested. I didn't do it until I was older.
Yeah.
But it was around for sure.
Yeah, it was around. Corpus Christi. What was Corpus Christi like growing up in Beach Town?
Yeah, I was there until I was 19. So I have like a little bit of a perspective of like being a young adult there. And then like visiting my mom, when I was in college. And I don't go there very often now, but like my perspective as an adult is like, it's like not really a great place to hang out. On the one hand, the other hand, I feel like it was a pretty good place to grow up.
Really? Why? Or how?
I mean, I feel like I had a decent education and I made some really good friends, and it's cool to grow up on the beach. It really shaped a lot of who I am, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Beach hanging is almost like meditating. To sit there and beach is, what do you do? You're not doing anything.
You don't do anything.
You don't do anything.
There's nothing to do unless you're a surfer.
You watch the ocean. And
which
you hear
I
the
didn't
sounds.
surf until I lived on the Pacific. So when I was growing up, I did not surf. I had a couple of friends that surfed, but like,
you would chill on the beach.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And I wasn't like drinking or anything when I was a kid. So yeah, you're literally just chilling. And then in high school, there were like bonfires that would happen, but
Well, that's just another type of chilling.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at the ocean, you're looking at the flames.
Right.
Okay. I think that'd be cool. When I think of Corpus Christi, I think of kind of more of a blue collar city, but I might be wrong on that.
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah. Compared to like Galveston.
Right.
Because it's like a city. People live there and work jobs.
People like that don't know anything about it, they'll be like, oh, it's a small town. No, it's not. It's a city.
Yeah. It's a proper
my high
city.
school was huge.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And you made A's? And B's?
Yeah. I mean, not all A's, but yeah, I did well.
Yeah. Did you skip school?
Not really. My senior year, I didn't have a lot of academic work to do. And
what? Because you were done it all?
I had done it all.
You
Not
did it?
literally, but I had done a lot of it. Like I
Yeah.
could have graduated early if I really wanted to.
She didn't want to.
No, wasn't interested. But so there were a few times where we like went to the beach instead of going to school, but that wasn't like a common thing. I didn't really skip school.
Yeah. Did you sneak out of the house?
No.
No.
Once
sneaking.
I tried with my stepsister, and we got caught. but
So your
that's it.
mom remarried?
My dad did.
Oh, your dad remarried?
Yeah.
Did
Not my-
both your parents, what was divorce life like for you?
You mean like the frequency of like
Yeah,
staying?
like going back and forth from house to house.
I went to my dad's house every other weekend.
Okay. He had like standard visitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you like being there, or did you prefer being at your mom's?
I preferred being at my mom's. Yeah.
Okay. Your dad remarried?
He did.
Did you like those kiddos?
Yeah, I mean, my stepbrother was a little older. Like now he's like a peer, but back then he seemed a lot older.
Mhm.
So I didn't really know him, but I liked my stepsister a lot. But she also wasn't there because her parents were divorced. So sometimes she would be with her dad, you know?
Yeah, and him being a more disciplinarian and maybe more scary for a kiddo, you wouldn't want to be there.
Sometimes it felt that way.
You'd rather be at your mom's where you got away with stuff.
Well,
Minimal
and
boundaries. You're like, I want to be at the
also, like-
I want to be at the boundaryless house.
I also had like my own space. Like I didn't really have like my own proper room at my dad's house.
That makes sense.
Whereas like everything at my mom's house was mine,
Yeah.
you know?
It felt like your home
Yeah.
more than at your dad's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Part of me is like learning about you, and then also part of me is always figuring out how to be the best single dad I can be for my daughters. Because they, at 13 and 16, want to be at their mom's more. I've
Yeah.
always had 50-50, and recently we changed to a standard, which has been really sad. I've felt a lot of sadness, or sadness has been present.
Yeah.
Because I want them in my life. So then I start to think, well, what's going on with me or with the way I connect with them? So
It's probably just comfort, you
Hmm?
know, the comfort of like being with mom, you know?
It probably is. Mom's mom.
Yeah.
I can't make mom. I can't be mom. I don't know how. I mean, it's definitely not a wig.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a clothing. You don't put on mom attire. There's something about mom
You
that
just got to have that baby in your body, and that's the only
Yeah,
that's the only way you can be a mom.
Yeah, I have to have birthed this baby.
Yeah.
But also her vibe. Like, I think their mom is really cool and really nurturing. And
My mom was incredibly nurturing, so I think that was part of it too. Is
that
just
feels
like,
good.
yeah, yeah,
I want to have that. I want my kids. I don't want to be a disciplinarian, like strict person. And I have that because I was raised with that.
yeah.
I had those
I think a lot
male-
of people our generation were raised that way.
Yeah. Those like strict, like real, I call it the cycle of violence. It like there wasn't a lot of, like, I remember parents saying kids were seen and not heard. That was said when I was a kiddo.
I didn't hear that. Actually, I did hear it, but it wasn't. I did hear it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like something that was like a rule
In your
you know?
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it was in my house. It was like, I'm glad things are changing.
It's really wild. Like I have a lot of hope for the current generation. Like like when I think about the way that we're raising my daughter and the way that a lot of my friends are raising their children,
Yeah.
it's really wild to see the shift. But also, I mean, I think like our parents didn't have a lot of resources
No.
for parenting.
Social and emotional learning wasn't a thing when
Exactly.
we were kids.
And like the books that were available were few and they were like shitty. Whereas now the resources are like endless.
Yes. Yes. I think the arc of time bends towards progress
Right. Yeah.
in parenting and relationships between kids and parents.
So much
and-
evolution.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for that.
Me too.
Like I really want to stop something and start something anew.
Yeah. And I don't know, but I feel like it's happening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I say that and then I have a memory of like seeing a family out in public recently and how with that family it was clearly not happening. But I would like to think that it's happening largely.
I
you know.
think, yeah. Well, the more of us that do it, the more models there'll be,
Right.
the more.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing is like I see some of the ways that my kid behaves and it's kind of like standard. Like, you know, we grew up with like bullies, like that's not a thing.
Yeah, well, it still is a
Well,
thing.
but it's not accepted,
Kids get
right?
bullied in different ways. Yeah,
It's not
there's definitely like
acceptable.
systems. Yeah, they're like,
Whereas like in our generation, if
Yeah.
kids were bullies, it was just like whatever.
yeah, well, that's just Craig.
Life.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's just Paul. You know, you give him your lunch money and
Move on with your life.
move on with your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas like just even little things, I mentioned this to someone the other day, like, you know, we went to dinner with like my friend's daughter and we're leaving the restaurant. She tripped on the like curb.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, this is what kids do nowadays. I think I see it happen. She walks up to her and she's like, "Are you okay?" And like, you know, and see if she needs help getting up, which is so sweet. But like, I didn't do that. If
No.
if my friend fell when I was a kid, I was just like, bye. Keep on playing my game.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some amount of like awareness of other people's struggles and wanting to relieve or support.
Yeah. And like true empathy
True
that
empathy.
I did not have at 5 years old.
Compassion and empathy.
You know?
We need that. We need that.
Mhm.
And we're getting a little bit of I know I am as a 47-year-old man. That's been a part of my journey is like how to nurture that in myself for a lot of reasons because it wasn't available when I was a kid.
Right.
There just weren't those models. There weren't those. I was a stoner and I still remember my calculus teacher being, but I was over, you know, I was smart. So I took more advanced classes, and I remember my calculus teacher being like, asking if I could go to the bathroom because I would go smoke weed. She's like, "Just go. You don't even have to come back. Like, I don't even care." Just like this lack of, I don't know, lack of
Interest and support.
Yeah. Just get out of here. You not being here will make my life easier. So that's easier than supporting and giving compassion or even asking like, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
for you?
even like checking in.
Yeah. A check-in.
Although to be fair, I did have a high school teacher that tried checking in with me one time and I wouldn't talk to her. So
You wouldn't?
No.
I had a high school teacher, Mr. Richards. He was the one crazy one that was like, you know, Philip's a good kid, you know, because I get a lot of messaging from a lot of other teachers that, you know, wasn't good. Did you have friends, teachers that would befriend you? Did you have like good relationships with teachers?
Yeah. Yeah. There were a couple for sure.
Yeah.
There were some really good teachers at my high school.
There were?
Yeah.
Corpus Christi had good schools.
I mean, I don't know, but my experience was pretty good.
Yeah. And what happened after high school for you?
I went to school there for a year.
What school was in?
Texas A&M.
Okay, Texas A&M.
And then I transferred to, I mean, now I'm going to date myself, Southwest Texas State University.
Southwest Texas
Yeah,
State
which is
University.
Texas State.
Which
Texas
is
State.
San Marcos.
Yeah. But I
Texas
lived
State.
here, so I commuted from
You lived
here.
in Austin.
I moved here, but I transferred to school.
She wants to make that clear, everybody. She lived in Austin, not in San Marcos.
No, I mean, San Marcos is great. That's just the choice that I made.
Mm-hmm. That's a long commute.
I didn't
Like an
usually
hour.
drive. There was a commuter bus, and I usually
Ooh.
took the commuter bus.
That's cool.
Sometimes I carpooled, but
What'd you study?
interdisciplinary studies and English and science a little bit. I used to teach school.
You're
So
a teacher?
I got my teaching certificate my last year. Was it year or semester? I think it was year of undergrad of college.
What did you teach?
Elementary school, mostly 4th grade.
My goodness. What brought you to that?
I think that I probably could have benefited from a little bit of time prior to college. Like I didn't really know what I wanted to study or what I wanted to do, but I was being told by my mom that I had to go to college and that was like what the thing to do. So I did. And I didn't have a plan and I didn't have any like clarity about what I wanted to study, but I knew that I liked kids and that I was good with them.
Mm-hmm.
Which ironically now I have no interest in working with kids, but it's probably because I have my own. But I just kind of ended up like I was like, well, I know like teaching is something that has always felt really natural and comfortable to me, like
Mhm.
my whole life. I do feel like I am to some degree like called to be in the seat of the teacher, like regardless of what that might look like. And that I knew, I kind of felt that in my heart. And so, yeah, I just was like, well, I guess I'll teach school. And it went well and I was good at it, but it just wasn't really something that I wanted to continue pursuing.
You would have liked a gap year.
I mean, again, like hindsight, like when I look back, I think that might have been helpful. Like,
Yeah.
I think I might have,
Some life experience.
yeah, I might have benefited from getting to know myself a little bit better.
You could have honed in on what you wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And better utilize that time.
Yeah, exactly. Better utilize that time.
What was your first job?
Baskin Robbins.
You were a Baskin Robbins employee.
Mm-hmm.
You were an ice cream artist.
Yeah. It's a nice
Subway has me thinking about everything, but he's an artist. Sandwich artist. Anyway, Baskin Robbins. Did you work in restaurants a bunch? Were you ever a waiter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I did after Baskin Robbins.
Yeah?
Yeah.
At Applebee's?
Close. I don't know. I don't know if anyone will know this restaurant because I don't think they exist anymore. But it's kind of like Applebee's at the Black Eyed Pea.
Oh yeah, Black Eyed Pea. I know the Black Eyed Pea.
Yep.
Yeah. Aren't they still around? Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
And then I moved here and I worked at Shady Grove, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Shady Grove. That was on Barton Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just a derelict.
Just tagged and
it's just like a derelict
crazy.
property. I'm surprised no one's going in there.
Probably no one can afford it.
Probably. But it can afford to sit empty, which makes no sense. Yeah, Shady Grove. So you're a waiter. I did that for a long time. And then what shook you out of the teaching role?
I sort of felt like I was fully in the grind. And I had this realization that if I kept going, like I was going to just do the like American thing that you're supposed to do, which is like buy a house and settle down. And I wasn't interested in settling down, but I also was like, if I keep moving on this path, like what else am I going to do? Like I don't know what else I'm going to do. Like teaching school, you kind of have to settle down. Like there's no,
you didn't want to settle down.
I just wasn't interested.
You weren't ready.
No, I wasn't ready. And I had already been doing it for a long time and I was so young, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of the thing was like, well, I like my job on the one hand. The other hand, I feel like I'm working constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And why? Like if I'm not going to do that, if I'm not going to like get married or not necessarily get married, but like buy a house and so do those things that are conventional,
right?
Then why am I working so hard? That was just kind of where I got to. And so I left. I ended up moving to Mexico for a couple years.
Ooh, where in Mexico?
Puerto Escondido, Oaxaca.
Oh yeah, I've been to Puerto Escondido and Puerto Angel and Mazunte.
Yeah, over there.
I've been all over there.
I traveled for a while and then I settled there and worked there for a while.
What'd you do in Puerto Escondido?
Well, I did teach yoga. But that was like because I just couldn't stop teaching yoga. Like I was just like so driven to inspired to teach yoga.
So you had found yoga by this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't want to stop teaching. But that wasn't what I was doing. That was just like, I kept doing it. I found opportunity. Back then, like yoga still wasn't really a thing.
Now I think there's a bunch of stuff like that down there.
I'm sure, but there was not. And so I was literally the yoga teacher for the town.
For Puerto Escondido.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is an international language school. I'm sure it's still there. And I was with my partner at the time and we were the directors who were like running the school.
You ran a school down there?
Yeah.
Wow. So you had an official jobby job.
I did. Yeah. Off the record.
It was off the record?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, I wasn't like getting paid through like a proper Mexican situation. I was just there on a tourist visa,
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like you didn't have a work visa or anything.
No.
But you were working as the director of an international school, teaching kids.
I wasn't teaching because the teachers were teaching Spanish.
Right.
To adults.
You were help running it.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. I went to
and I lived on the beach.
And
I surfed every day.
You stayed beach. That's the Pacific that you went to.
Yeah.
That is such a cool town. I loved it. I stayed there for a little while, not a couple weeks, but I loved it. It was so cool.
But yeah, so that's what I did. I like the plan was to move, not to Mexico, but the plan was to move. Originally we were going to move to Seattle, but and that's what we ended up doing, like traveling and then living there. And then long story short, like things shifted and I came back, and I've been back ever since. But when I came back, like I kind of jumped back into teaching yoga, and that's how like I got on the path to teaching full time.
How long were
So
you in Puerto Escondido?
about a year or so. Like the whole thing was like a couple years. In the middle, I actually lived in an ashram in California,
What?
but that
Which,
was brief.
what was that like?
Uh,
Is it bunk beds?
I had my own room. It was a suite. Like I shared the bathroom with someone
Okay.
on the
Jack and
other
Jill
side.
bathroom, yeah.
But I don't know. It was like I think I went in like I was still really young. I was still in my 20s and
Mm-hmm.
pretty impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
And like very wide-eyed about yoga, like it was still a pretty new-ish relationship.
Okay.
I think a lot of people who are newer to yoga have this like, big open-hearted passion. Not that I don't now, but it's like any relationship. Like I've been in this relationship for decades.
Right.
So it evolves, right? It's not the same kind of it's a different kind of love than it
Yeah.
was when it was newer. And I think I went in with like an expectation of like what it was going to be like, or it was going to be kind of magical, or like people were going to behave a certain way, but they're just people. It wasn't really, I mean, it was a good experience. It was great, but
What was your day to day like there?
it was pretty mellow. Like I was working, but like my schedule was pretty light. Like I didn't have a lot of work to do.
You worked for the ashram?
Yeah. Like it was part of a program where it was sort of like work trade,
Mm-hmm.
like you could stay there and live there and kind of experience life there and work. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was in Northern California in the Redwood Forest. Like it was,
That sounds
oh,
nice.
it was not bad. It's a nice place to like develop and meditate and, I did party quite a bit, in my 20s, so there was none of that. So
You were done with your drugs and alcohol and party
well,
phase?
I don't know if I was done, but
Maybe not.
I had
Yeah.
definitely like slowed down a
Yeah.
lot. And so, it was a good environment for self-exploration.
Mm-hmm. What is an ashram? I know a monastery is to Buddhism. What is ashram is?
It's like an intentional community
Okay.
where people are living a yoga lifestyle.
Okay.
And in this situation, there was a guru. He has since passed, so I don't really know. Like, I know the ashram is still there, but I don't really know like what's going on. I haven't looked into it or anything.
Okay.
But
They're following the sutras. Oh yeah, you said they had a different thing.
When I was there, we were studying a different text. But I mean, yeah, it's people that are there because they want to be in an environment that is like a yoga lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a temple,
That had to have been really a beautiful or magical experience for you.
It was. I have a little bit of like, I'm sure there's a word for it, but like a longing for wishing I had like photographs or videos or anything. I have nothing because, we just didn't really do that back then.
Yeah. Yeah, do you want to remind yourself of those moments with some kind of pictures?
Yeah, like I'd like to look and remember through like a visual, not just in my mind, but yeah,
you could probably visit the ashram. Huh?
Yeah,
It's still
I've thought
there.
about it. I'm sure it's super different now, being that Baba Hari Das is no longer there, but
that's cool. Living on an ashram. I can't imagine what that'd be like. But what you said about them being normal people, it like rings true. I remember I was talking to, I don't remember who it was, but one of my guests here about how all the human things, all the normal human things play out in these monasteries. So people argue over things, and it's all the human conflicts and challenges occur there. It's not like because there's a spiritual
overtone.
Yeah, that doesn't make everybody like
different.
zenned out all the time. They
Yeah.
still want what they want and struggle.
Yeah, part of my work was like with trash, like collecting trash and sorting through trash and stuff like that. And I remember like going through the recycling and seeing like a couple beer bottles and a wine bottle. And I was like, oh, because like you're not supposed to be drinking. But there were people who like had homes on their property. Like they're going to do whatever they want.
Right. Oh, goodness. What happened after the ashram and the
Well,
and
that
Puerto
was
Escondido?
right before I like settled in Puerto Escondido. So we traveled for a while and there was like a gap of time before we were going to settle into that job. And so I ended up going to California and then, then that. And then I traveled for a little while down to Chiapas and Guatemala.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. Chiapas and Guatemala. Did you go to Simuc Champay?
That doesn't sound familiar. Is it an archaeological site?
It is a natural limestone land bridge out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. No.
That's beautiful. Guatemala is beautiful. I did like going to those Mayan ruin sites like Tikal. I guess Tikal was in Guatemala. And Palenque is in Chiapas. I went there.
But yeah, after all that, I moved back here. And that
to Austin?
Mm-hmm.
With your partner?
No. I traveled by myself
at
that point.
Mm-hmm. And then when you got back here, what'd you do?
I got a retail job and started teaching yoga.
Retail job and yoga.
And I just really like dove into teaching yoga.
Full time.
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually.
The retail job was like obviously because I needed to pay my bills, but eventually I quit the retail job.
And yoga's gotten bigger and bigger, hasn't it? It's a more common practice. Like you could do yoga in Boise, Idaho.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like you were saying about Puerto Escondido, right? Or like, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. There really are kind of yoga studios everywhere nowadays.
Yeah. What do you think makes you guys unique? You, Holly, and Mary, and Studio.
The studio?
Satya, yeah.
One, I think, and I hear this reflected back from students all the time. One, I think, is that we have a really high standard of who we hire to teach. And so everyone on our team is very experienced and confident, which I think isn't necessarily the case in some studios. And then two, I think, is the variety of classes. Like I mentioned, nowadays in the United States, kind of vinyasa yoga or flow classes are what I think people perceive as yoga. And a lot of studios are just like flow studios. Like that's every class is that. There's no variety or a minimal variety. Whereas, we have not only a large variety, but family classes. So literally no matter what age you are, you can practice, babies, kids, teenagers, or we have tween classes, but, and along with the variety and the knowledgeable, experienced teachers, I think that I would like to think that we're working to be inclusive. So some people might not feel comfortable practicing in other studios. And again, just like reflected back to me, I hear that people are comfortable practicing in our studio.
Inclusive meaning like what kind of?
Like maybe someone's injured, or maybe there's they're in a different experience with their body where they might feel intimidated taking a yoga class.
So accommodating. You guys accommodate.
Yes,
and include
that too. Both. Yeah.
I pulled up my phone because I was just going to read a couple of the classes just so folks could get an idea of the diversity. There's vinyasa, of course, crawlers and toddlers, which is like kiddos, hatha and sound, flow and meditation, therapeutic yoga for resilience, candlelight flow, baby and me, slow flow, gentle hatha, functional strength, prenatal yoga. Let's see. There is kids yoga, yoga for tweens, flow and restore, yoga for stress management.
Yeah, so I think that in and of itself makes us pretty unique.
Yeah, I think so.
But I mean, there are other reasons, like the fact that we are locally owned. It's just us running the studio.
Yeah.
I mean, that exists in other places, but it's not common in other studios, I mean, but it's not common.
What, that it's locally owned and operated?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a female-owned business.
Yep. Women-owned business.
Yeah.
And there's something else that popped into my head, but then left. There was like one more thing that I was like, oh, that makes us unique as well. Oh, well, just that, we're not a fitness studio. And again, that's not entirely unique. There are other studios in Austin that are not fitness studios, but I think that's more common, right? That yoga studios nowadays are really honed in on fitness and trying to offer a fitness opportunity for people, which is not what we're really doing. You might have that experience in some of our more active classes, for sure.
What are you honing in on?
Doing our best to maintain the roots of yoga,
which is that cessation of
the fluctuation of the mind. Yeah, but just like honoring that it's not a Western practice. Right. It is because we are Westerners and we live here, so therefore it is. But that's not where the tradition comes from. And so just trying to keep that in mind, right? That we're borrowing a lot of these ideas and trying to do our best to steward them.
Yeah. When you look at the thing, it's not just yoga up there. It's meditation and what's the third thing? In your byline, it says, I have it right here. It's yoga, meditation, and community.
Oh, in my head, I was like, community, right? But
yeah, it's community.
I was like, but how embarrassing would that be if I said the wrong thing?
Oh my goodness. I'd be like, no more co-owner for you. I'm the co-owner now. I don't know. It'd be fun. But yeah, community's a big part of it.
Huge.
Y'all got the book club. There's like a bike ride. You're crescenting a bike rack.
And we have a social bike ride coming up.
I'm going to go on that bike ride. Cool. That sounds like fun.
Me too.
I love bike rides. There's
so that's a big component. And I think that definitely makes us unique.
Yeah. Community's huge.
Yeah.
Do they call it Sangha in yoga too, or is that just a Buddhist thing?
I mean, I think there's some crossover. I've heard it when I was growing up in yoga called Kula.
Kula.
But
I like that. Kula.
But yeah, I mean, we know everybody's name.
Yeah.
Back to Cheers, right?
Yeah. Cheers. Yeah. Where everybody knows your name.
We know everybody's name.
And they're always glad you came.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I noticed is like at the beginning of most classes, if not all of them, there's this kind of around the room. What's going on for everybody? What are you guys needing?
Yeah.
And I've done it a bunch. So it's like pretty much the same thing every time. Shoulders, hips. I want some balance or core. It's like it's a small number of things people say, and they say it every time for the most part. But I don't think it's about that. It's about giving people that opportunity to connect and share and
feeling heard.
And
knowing that like we as teachers are there to support you.
And gonna modify. I imagine when you get those things, Holly like writes them down and that's gonna make its way into the series of exercises that we do or movements that we do. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and again, like going back to, having experienced teachers, like that's not something that a newer teacher would be ready to do necessarily. Maybe some, but,
How do you think I could, this digresses or returns back to an earlier conversation, but I'm just wondering through my connection with you guys and a practice, a regular practice with y'all, I wonder how I could demonstrate the value of that or the change in my body and my mind after X number of months.
I mean, what do you notice that is different for you?
I get deeper into folds for sure. Like my flexibility's increased already.
That's great.
And it hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
And I already noticed when you would first say, bring your knee in to touch your nose. I couldn't touch my nose. That's hard to touch your nose with your knee. And now I can do it.
That's
I
awesome.
touch my nose with my knee, which is
That's really
pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah,
It's exciting.
it is exciting. It's when I do something that I couldn't do before, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the stillness of the mind part, like fluctuations of the mind. I love the Shavasana. I'll say that. It's gotten to be something I look forward to in every class.
It's good stuff.
At the beginning, I would they'd ask for, everybody asks, oh, if you want to do this other pose before you get into Shavasana, now's your time. And I would do
You
one.
would stall.
I would do Happy Baby or do something else. And now I'm like, I just want to do Shavasana.
Yeah.
Let's just get there.
I know. That's how I am too. Whenever I take someone else's yoga class, like they'll be like, and now do this. I'm like, no, I'm done.
No, we're chilling now.
Yeah.
How do you think you're unique among the three, you, Mary, and Holly? How do you view you guys as different styles or?
Gosh, I'm not sure. I mean, I know Mary, for a good amount of time recently has been working with nervous system stuff that she's been studying. And, hence the class you mentioned, the yoga for therapeutic yoga for resiliency. So that's different for sure. I mean, I don't know. It's like I can tell you like how they're different from me, but it's hard for me to say how I'm different from them.
How you're unique, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't play music in your classes.
I do, just not in all my classes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In some classes I do. In some I don't.
At first I thought it was odd, but now I like it.
Yeah, I do play music in some of my classes.
Carlie,
it depends on the
Carlie
class.
plays music in some of her classes.
But not all of them.
Right.
Yeah, that's a conscious choice.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's that stripping away the senses. It's like one less thing to distract myself from the exercise and the experience.
Yeah. And I think that there are so few quiet spaces. Like they're so difficult to find. And so I use music in some of my classes for various reasons, but the ones that don't have music, that's part of like if people don't want to practice without music, that's okay. They don't have to come to that class, right? There are other classes of mine they can take, or they can take someone else's class. But in those classes that don't have music, that's an opportunity to be in a quiet space.
I agree. I think that's cool. I like it. So that might not be a totally unique thing. What do you think is unique? How do you view yourself?
That's the hard part.
It's
I'm
the
like,
hard part.
I don't know how I view myself. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I've had people like give me feedback that say like your classes are, different from anyone else's, or but I don't know why.
They're not specific.
I'm not that I remember.
Your instruction is very specific, and your voice is staccato. Like it's like almost like the words are really, you're choosing them.
I've heard that
very
before.
Purposefully.
I've heard that exact thing before from other students.
You have?
Yeah. And I had a improv teacher say, like unrelated, right? On stage. That I was very precise.
Yes,
he was like, your words are like a knife.
Exactly.
But that was just my performance language, not my teaching. So that must have something to do with my personality.
Have you heard that saying that the way you do one thing is the way you do all things?
Yeah. But when I'm in teaching, that's intentional.
Yeah.
Right? Or on stage, it's not. But yeah, I'm definitely aiming for clarity. And to a degree, precision, right? Not like to get it right, but to help support people in their embodiment.
That's about that thoughtful and intentional kind of like you're sharing these instructions to get us to a place.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if you were giving me directions to Studio Satya from my house, I want the clarity. I want to know, where do I turn left? Where do I turn right? I don't want any noise in that. And that your instructions are that way. Everybody gives great instructions. But yours are unique in the cadence of them.
Yeah, so maybe that's how and different. Because everything you're saying I've heard from other people before.
Yeah.
So
Do you have a yoga voice?
I would like to think that I don't.
But you do.
But you think I do?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
You probably
I don't love yoga voice. Like it's very off-putting to me when I hear it in other people.
You don't like yoga voice?
No. It's like kind of makes my skin crawl a little bit. But so I would like to think that I don't.
You probably get a Shavasana voice though.
Yeah, because it's got to be quiet. I'm quiet.
It has to be kind of a whispered tone.
Yeah,
and it's like we're chilling people out. It's like nah, 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 nah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I hope I don't.
You probably have a yoga voice. What we should do is we'll have this example of
and then you're gonna
Karlie's
put in
voice,
a clip of me teaching,
and then say, what do we? Does she have a yoga voice or not? Yoga voices are all right.
Well, I'm glad you think so.
You don't. They're cringe for you.
Yes.
Where do you do yoga? Do you do yoga at the studio, or when you practice yoga, what does it look like? Or do you get that experience through the teaching experience? Because I know you.
Not so much. Again, like everything's changed since I've had a kid, but it's like I'm just trying my best to find balance and everything, but all the time. Sometimes, like given how much time I have, I'll just drop into random classes around town, which I find interesting and fun. Otherwise, I practice at home, sometimes by myself, and often with my teacher who has an online platform. So.
Oh, that's cool. You'll just drop in at yoga studios all over town.
I mean, maybe not all over because I hate driving.
Yeah, me too.
It depends on my mood and my schedule. But yeah.
Like Black Swan?
I haven't been to Black Swan in over a year.
Practice?
Yes.
I like that place.
Yeah.
Where else? Yoga East?
I've actually never been there, not for any particular
It's pretty
reason.
Cool. I've been there.
But yeah.
Dharma yoga?
Dharma,
I love
Sukha.
Keith, yeah. I've never been to Sukha.
I've taught at all these places too,
You
like
have.
in the past. And
Karlie's she's been in the Austin yoga community a long time.
Yeah.
You were at Yoga, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've practiced at Wild Heart recently.
I've never been to Wild Heart. Yeah.
Yeah, so just, kind of wherever.
Making the rounds.
Yeah, I mean, there are some studios that I'm curious about, but I just won't deal with like driving or parking,
Yeah. I don't want to deal with driving or parking either. Yeah. Anything else that we haven't gone over that you'd like to? About your life or about yoga or about the studio? Or anything. Is there a pose that you feel like you'd like to express before you do Shavasana for the interview?
Oh, I was like, what? Oh, that's funny.
Is your heart calling to a pose?
I'm ready for
right
Shavasana.
Now? You are? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've really enjoyed this conversation, and it's almost like an extension of the conversation I've had with you in class, where it's not as back and forth, but like being a member of your classes, being able to experience your mentorship from a yoga perspective and to follow those flows or those experiences. This is just another kind of vantage point into that.
That's great.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. This has been Phil Phails with Karlie Lemos. I slurred that whole last name that time. Lemos.
It was close. Definitely close enough for jazz.
Jazz hands. And this has been Phil Phails at Yoga Philosophy. And wave it, everybody. Yeah. This has been a lot of fun.
I agree. You
guys go check out Studio Satya and go do some yoga. Right?
Why not?
Why not? Do you handshake, fist bump, hug, high five?
I do all those things. It just depends on.
What do you want to do now?
I like high fives.
Let's high five it. Bam. That's a wrap.
Great.
We did it.
That was really fun.
Heck yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it.